everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Bitcoin and Altcoin Trading Talk. I'm Joe with Coinigy here, and I'm here with my good friend, Mr. Brian Beamish from The
Oh,
Rational
sure.
Investor. So, welcome. Thank you guys for tuning in. Uh, we had a little 2 weeks off or so excited to be back here and talk. Um, we'll get this show on the road, right, Brian?
Yeah, let's do this. I think there's one person watching. If anything, this isn't bad because that way we can screw this up, and as we're sort of building our inertia and getting our feet wet and getting all nice and comfortable in this environment, we can cut our teeth. Oh, how many other cliches can I use?
Yeah,
But I think we got the audio issue licked.
I
What do you
think
think?
so. We're let us know. These
Actually, you're zoomed out a little bit. My head's all big. I don't know. Can you make my head any smaller? Like I jam myself in close
yeah,
to this microphone
yeah, we'll
just to
make
make
you a
sure
little
everybody could hear me.
smaller there.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure how to do this, but
Um,
anyway, you're at the wheel, so I'm sure we'll figure this out.
yeah,
But yeah, you were just on vacation there back east, eh? Did you have yourself a good trip?
yeah. It's back in the Midwest. It was nice to see the family. Celebrate my grandma's 85th birthday.
Way to go,
So,
Grandma.
yep, congrats, Grandma. It's funny, when my grandpa was still alive, one time he was like, he was so skeptical of Bitcoin. He's like, "Oh, so what's that, like, magic internet money you're working with?" He's like, sounds like a scam. I was like, I know, Judge. I tried to explain it. He just wasn't one to wrap his mind around it there. But,
My old prop firm buddies, these guys are all gnarly futures traders. They trade forever. The guy who ran the place, Johnny Hoagland, he used to always call Bitcoins beach balls. And I actually left them to go and start TRI and trade Bitcoins and stuff back in the latter part of last decade. And he never could figure out Bitcoin. He'd always, whenever I pop on and say hi to them, he does. Hey, how's those beach balls going? How's that going? So, I guess Johnny Hoagland is cut from the same cloth as your granddad.
yep.
Eh?
Uh,
Anyway, I suppose rest his soul.
yes, indeed.
So
But it was nice to get back there and see some familiar faces within the family. So,
cool. Anything sort of development wise happening at Coinigy that maybe we can let the public know about?
um, we
You had a
do have.
big powwow a month or so ago back east with your bosses, right?
Yeah, we do. I don't know if I am have the green light to give it a uh like release the news there, but
Hmm.
we do have some direct trading
Oh,
capabilities of something new kind of coming through the pipeline that we will be announcing. Let's say we're still like about a month or two out from that, so we are super excited about that. We will definitely be talking more about that once we're still kind of ironing out the kinks
yeah.
here and there, but it's something that our developers have been working on pretty heavily over the past couple months. So we are excited for that, but in due time,
Excellent.
I'll be able to break the news to the world.
All
So
right. If anything, I think we should probably use these shows and these videos as Brian can only teach and sort of demo so much, but I'd love to see you sort of, show off all the bells and whistles and stuff about Coinigy.
definitely,
And if anything, maybe ask the hires up if you could get like maybe even just $100,
yeah.
maybe a couple
I
hundred
mean,
bucks,
I'll
and
do.
just create like a little demo account because I absolutely think, without a shadow of a doubt, number one, 2023 is the accumulation year for crypto. So, if anything, great to see that Coinigy is coming back full steam here. get this bat show up and running here through this bottoming year, so that in the coming couple years ahead of here, we should have a pretty friendly market state. And it would be awesome to sort of highlight and put into place the plan now, so that as we go forward over the next couple of years, you can demo how people can use Coinigy and all the fun bells and whistles to trade and manage your
Well,
crypto.
yeah, 100%. I will definitely get that up and running soon. I
Yeah, well, we could even make it just like
yeah,
a 10-15 minute section of this video, checking in with Joe.
yeah,
What's the latest feature du jour out of Coinigy, right? Make it actually part of this show. So,
yeah,
anyway,
definitely.
food for thought. And good to hear that you had a good little break. Actually, I'm thinking about jumping out of an airplane this summer, so
That's
that's gonna be
awesome.
my vacation.
Any
We have
idea where?
actually, I'm thinking about doing it over Chicago.
Okay, that's cool.
Actually, and what's interesting is that I thought just for it might be kind of a fun adventure. I would actually drive from Vancouver down to Chicago,
Okay,
and well, we've got people sort of stationed all along the way. One gentleman who's a very active site member, he's in Montana. There's another site members that are in actually Wisconsin, and I was thinking what that would be a great opportunity to maybe stop in, and I'll maybe even do a show one on the way there, as stopping in Wisconsin in Will and Rob's neck of the woods.
yeah,
Probably, maybe I'll do it with your grandma.
yeah, that'd be great. We'll explain to her Bitcoin, magic internet money. Hey, I'm
Oh,
on the
there you
way.
go.
I'm just south
Beach
of you.
balls.
We'll have to make that happen. Maybe we'll do a live show with the two of us uh, at the same time here down in Oregon.
That would be fun, eh?
Yeah. Um,
So anyway, that's and actually one of our site members is he's actually like literally a professional skydiving instructor,
that's awesome.
and he's another site member who actually helps me. In fact, you've worked with him, Chris.
Oh, yeah.
He had to come back to North America to he's doing one of those digital nomad visas.
Yeah. He's trying to
Uh,
get back to Majorca.
yeah, yeah. So he had to come back to North America to jump through the hoops and all the bureaucratic stuff. And he's going to be in the Chicago area this summer. So if anything, a shout out any TRIers that are watching this video. Like I know, where's Adam? Adam
Yeah.
usually watches this video
Yeah, we need
religiously.
Adam in here. Who am I going to go to for some answers if I don't know one of your questions without me just glancing over?
So maybe we'll have Adam tune in here later on. But he's in Chicago. He's always up for an adventure. He came over to Portugal with us last year.
Awesome.
So maybe if we're anyway, what would be a lot of fun is if we had like maybe a half a dozen of us all jump out of the airplane at the same time and then hold out like some big TRI banner or something like that.
I'm
Maybe.
there. Tell me when. I'll be there in August.
Oh, cool. All right. Yeah, dude. Well, you're going to be there in August, eh? We were thinking
Yeah.
about doing this the end of July.
July?
So that might be a bit
Yeah.
tough, but nonetheless,
Yeah.
I'll keep you informed. And I don't know, like swinging down to Portland to pick you up, that might be a little bit difficult.
Like,
If I understand correctly, it's about a 20-hour drive to Montana, or from on. Anyway, it's a long drive. So, anyway, I suppose we should maybe start talking a little crypto here, eh? So,
might as well instead of jumping out of airplanes. Equally as exhilarating, though, as the crypto markets are, as jumping out of an airplane.
kind of felt like Bitcoin jumped out of an airplane there the other day. Holy moly!
And then it took back off once the coin was it the Binance hit first, then Coinbase brought it back up.
Yeah, well, I do get the impression it was almost like the Binance news was a bombshell, but then the next day, I think in a weird sort of way, Gensler kind of lost his credibility with him going after Coinbase the very next day. So that's the impression that I sort of got of what happened was, you know, if you are a regulator in this space, you only have so much credibility with the public. And you only get like once a shot, right? And then once you've shot your shot, then there's nothing more you can do.
Hmm.
And it made sense. And actually, I was talking to you before we got the video going here today that it made sense that, um, and I don't know whether I'm allowed to do this or not. Can we show Chico Crypto's sort of YouTube page just so
Yeah.
the audience knows who I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Um, I like this gentleman. Um, I think his name is Tyler. I might have that wrong. My apologies, Mr. Chico, if you do if I did get that wrong. But I really like listening to Tyler. I think he does really good fundamental analysis of the space. Um, very crisp, very dry, very real. Good fundamentals. Um, and actually, it's interesting. Like we were talking before we got the video going, that I'm kind of like uh, I'm the type of guy who gets upset at the top of the market when the public, of course, is coming in and buying absolutely ridiculously inflated prices. And you hear the shillers saying, technical analysis doesn't matter, just buy and you'll make a fortune, right? Because that's classic shill.
Hmm.
They're just pandering to the public and terrible, bad. It's why there's so many lawsuits in this space. And actually, interesting enough with Tyler, he actually got very upset at the top of the market, when Allen comes in and just, does really dumb things with that Dogecoin and stuff like that. And, Chico's the type of guy, Tyler, that he actually has done a number of videos on how utterly and completely, I don't want to use inflammatory words, so let's just use the word cheeky. I don't know whether that's an expression
Yeah.
down in the States, but CZ borders on, they always say, right, it's a gray line. It's not black and white, it's gray, and there's many different shades of gray, right?
Yeah.
And CZ's always pushing the envelope as hard as he possibly can. He understands in this space that the Achilles heel is the mass panic withdrawals. Sam Bankman Fried never understood that. And so as a result, when the mass panic withdrawals request came, it sunk him and it destroyed him. CZ understands at any given point in time here, you've got to have $1 billion in your back pocket just in case there's some sort of mass panic liquidation and people just want to get their money and get out.
Hmm.
And so as a result, CZ is basically bulletproof. But does CZ do some of the cheeky practices that SBF were up to? Like Chico actually highlighted how there were like secret Discord and Telegram groups between people like SBF and CZ and these other exchange operators, and how they all basically colluded together to screw the public over. So,
You don't say.
it doesn't surprise me. And the other day I did hear, and I'll just for whatever it's worth, I'm not touting, I'm not telling you to buy anything. I couldn't care what you buy or sell, but I did hear people in this sort of space getting very upset over all of this. And frankly speaking, that's the public talking. The public is getting wrapped up in this. And I even, if you want, maybe follow me if you're watching this later on. CR Investor is my Twitter handle. I actually wrote an open letter to these social media influencers. I ended up not sending it because really it's just a waste of my time and
You
breath.
didn't have Chat GPT write this for you?
No. In fact, there's lots of spelling mistakes and grammatical errors and the whole thing. But this is a really good lesson on the way the capitalist machine works. And you have to understand, and I was trying to explain this to you even before we got the video going. There's a number of names. Like I'm actually in there buying a lot of crypto through 2023 because, of course, I believe in the whole 4-year cycles and all that kind of talk. And unfortunately, I do believe that a lot of people that are getting wrapped up in all this CZ story and how, actually the SEC is all, no, no, actually CZ's broken a ton of laws and he really should be held to account. Now, the interesting thing is that I think the SEC had credibility through all that. And I think that the broader market was like, this is serious. They're playing hardball. And of course, what happens to price? The price of Bitcoin comes off dramatically.
Drop
This people
five
are like,
percent.
yeah, I mean, that was a pretty big drop, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, ironically enough, that's nothing in crypto. And I even put a tweet up the other day. I mean, you can see even just from this chart,
We've seen
we
worse.
will have days and weeks like this in the future. It will happen again. This is crypto. This is the hallmark of crypto. I mean, there are periods when it just like the sky is just falling, right? So yeah, I mean, you see this kind of price action, then you fast forward to today, and this was the action, and it did a lot of technical damage. Don't get me wrong, this did a lot of technical damage, but the fact that he came out the very next day and then he went after Coinbase,
Mm-hmm.
I think he lost a lot of credibility in the market's eyes
I agree.
because if Coinbase was so bad, how on earth did they let them actually get the IPO off just a year or two ago?
And
It
then
wasn't even. Sorry.
Watcher Guru posted some according to like the court filing, Gary Gensler applied to serve as an advisor for Binance back in 2019 before becoming the SEC chair, which is just an interesting a little piece to the puzzle of
Well, and actually, what's kind of funny, and this is a kind of an aside, is we run, of course, a YouTube channel. We do daily shows,
daily
daily
brief.
break, weekend shows, the whole thing. And actually, at the bottom of our page, I have a number of videos that I think that people who really want to learn how to trade and want to learn about crypto and stuff, they really should watch. And look at the number one video that I have on here. It's
3 years
actually,
ago.
this was when he was a professor at MIT, actually teaching people about crypto at MIT.
And then you got Josh
So
below him. Hi, Josh.
yeah, there's Josh there. You know, a marketing guy out of the UK, yeah, and actually Josh.
Yeah.
Chatted with him. I mean, I don't know whether you've taken the time. It's kind of dangerous because this is like the red pill, blue pill kind of talk. So if you are up for it, and kind of like what Morpheus said, because actually I fancy myself as a Morpheus type kind of guy. Do you really want to know how this world works? I don't know whether you really
Yeah,
want to know
I
how
do.
this world
Let's hear it.
actually works. Have you taken the time to watch this Money Masters video?
No, but I definitely will now that I see it's required educational materials. So
Yeah.
I will.
Anybody that I work with,
Hey, I'll tell you what, by the next time we meet, I will have watched it. You have my word.
all right. Well, if anything, I would recommend that you pace yourself.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
It,
3.5 hours.
it's 3.5 hours, and every single bloody second is valuable information, right? Who's that? Let's see if you know who that is.
Thomas Jefferson.
Very good. So, I mean, even in just U.S. history, this goes back quite a ways. It literally from the first day of the inception of the United States of America, this war with the banking class elite has been going on. And really, this goes all the way back to Jesus Christ days. And it probably even goes back thousands of years before that. So this is a constant battle that's constantly going on in our civilization, which is such a shame.
Hmm.
Like, why don't we have good things? Why don't we have equality? Why don't we have, real substantial progress in the standard of living of these human beings? Well, it's all because of these damn money masters. So this is kind of one of these red pill, blue pill things. Do you really want to know how the real world works? So anyway, I'll leave it up to you whether you want to deep dive into
I
that.
do. I'm definitely
Um,
intrigued.
but as you pointed out, and as you see on here, it's fascinating that Mr. Gensler here, MIT, that's a fairly prestigious university, isn't it?
Gotta be big smart to do that.
He was a professor at MIT.
Yeah,
And the worst part about it is, I don't know whether you've ever heard me go on about university professors,
I
but
haven't,
I'm
but I'm
not.
curious now.
I'm not the biggest fan of university professors telling you how the world works because they sort of live in a bubble. Well, you said you went to Marquette, right?
Correct.
So you know how this whole university tenure professor kind of thing works,
Yep.
where these guys basically just walk on water, although they don't. And actually, in our education program, I explicitly try to teach all our students about a very real story. A Princeton University professor publicly made fun of a. Do you remember the dot-com boom, year 2000? I don't know whether you were
I was a
active.
wee little lad, but I do know what you're referring to.
Right. So the point of the matter here is a huge bubble in the market. Some of these assets went just ridiculously high priced, and the university professors that don't have any skin in the game, they have nothing to lose. They just simply come out and say things like, "Well, the internet growth is endless. You're stupid for selling your stock up here." And of course, 5 years later, that company that guy sold his stock, that company was actually bankrupt. It was out of business. Stocks were zero. So selling it up at $100 a share was probably a pretty good idea.
Yeah.
So, and then interesting how you mentioned earlier, this guy, university professor, he wanted to be actually a part of Binance, and now here he is, just basically taking a big poop on Binance, right?
Yep.
So the question is, why? What's really going on here? And as I said, I think if he had just left it at an attack on Binance, I think he would have maintained his credibility. But the fact that he came back the very next
Just
day and
going
said,
after
okay,
crypto is what it looks like to the puzzle. It's just like, all right, it's a war against crypto, basically, in my eyes. That not war, but like it feels like he's just like, all right, it's just all crypto now that he wants.
and I would actually disagree with that.
Okay.
I would actually say what I think, and actually there was another gentleman, this Mr. Mo,
Uh huh.
he's another sort of site alum. He and I were chatting back and forth on social media and stuff. I actually think what's going on here is more like they want the monopolies because I hate to say it, since the end of the Cold War and the collapse of the Soviet Union, I do believe that we're heading back towards more of like, you ever seen the character Scrooge in the Christmas Carol?
Yeah.
And that sort of society where you have like the 1% are super rich and they just make the lives of all the peons just crap. I think we're heading back towards that society.
Could see it.
Uh, and you might argue that,
Bah humbug.
uh, Bill Gates, Jeff Bezos, Zuckerberg, thinks, right? Those kind of people.
Elon.
Well, Alan's a bit of a character. He's more like a Barnum and Bailey kind of guy. Actually, is a good reference, historical reference, is Westinghouse, George Westinghouse. If you want like a really, really good lesson
Uh huh.
in American capitalism and where sort of Allen fits in that picture, I think he's an absolutely perfect sort of carbon copy of George Westinghouse.
George Westinghouse. I'm gonna do some homework
Yeah,
tonight.
I do some research on him. He basically was in bed with Tesla, and he was sort of the competition to Edison. And he also he was the founder of the air brake for trains back in the 19th century. That's what it made him really rich. But anyway, so the point of the matter is there's a lot of parallels between the Westinghouse story and Allen's story. And, you know, like a lot of the people that are like OGers in crypto, they really did not like when Allen sort of bullied his way into the crypto space with dog money there a year or two ago. And we were talking, I mean, he goes on Saturday Night Live. This is a total other conversation, and it always triggers me, right? Because I just get
Oh
so
yeah.
upset at this stuff. But you know, he went on Saturday Night Live, um, didn't say a word of warning to anybody about the potential dangers of dog money.
Hmm.
But you know, and then you know, you have guys like Brian, who years later, and of course nobody's going to remember this. And if anything, if anybody did buy when they were, you know, he went on Saturday Night Live right here,
Yeah.
and he didn't say anything about, well, you know, is it really a good idea investment wise to actually go and buy something that has just done that? Is that a good idea?
No.
You know, I before we got the video started, remember I had said half of my job here is just to try and prevent the public from buying up here. Don't do this. You know, and then there are other people in this space that are very, very wealthy and social media influencers and the whole thing. And they say stupid things like technical analysis doesn't matter, just go and buy more. And then there are other people that say, well, you know, if this thing doubles in price, buy more, right? No, oh, jeez, it drives you crazy. But do you hear anybody that got sucked into that Saturday Night Live
My
nonsense?
girlfriend told her not to.
Did she buy?
Now I don't know if it was up when it was that high, but she bought it high and is eating that one. Uh,
And I hate to say it, this is why there are so many
I
lawsuits.
would, yeah. She listened to one of her other friends, and I was like, "You're listening to someone who's, yeah, they made money on Doge, but you, I, I'm sure he's lost it now. I'll put it that way."
Well, I mean, maybe they. I mean, I'm the type of guy that I insist that if you do participate in this game, you ring the register, you pay yourself,
I
you actually get paid.
I sold at 8 cents and that first little jump right there, and I thought I was a genius. I was, but I thought I was like the richest man in the world. I was just like, oh my god, I can't. And then it just kept going up and up and up.
Yeah, well, and you know, if you're long, great, you can always. I like to call it spoon feeding the market. You can always keep selling more on halves, on
I
doubles, and
know.
stuff
See,
like
that's
that.
why I wish I had your knowledge that you've taught me before that, because I would have been selling half on the double rather than I just sold everything.
Yeah. And
At
actually, there's even one. This is hilarious. I don't even like mentioning the name because it's so rude. But we're in like a total. Oh, actually, isn't that interesting?
it might
Can
not.
you do DeFi on?
There's Adam. Hello, Adam. He's back. We missed
Hey, there
you.
he is. We missed you earlier, Adam.
We were
Anyway,
saying that no, Adam. It was he had us worried.
yeah, because I want Adam to jump out of an airplane with me here this summer.
Yes.
So, you up for it, Adam? You feel like coming to Chicago? Well, anyway, he was one of our crew in Portugal last summer. Anyway, uh, there's this funny meme coin, but I don't know how we can. Maybe you can. Oh, there it is. Maybe this is it. No, that's something else. Anyway, it's called Come Inu. I mean, terrible, terrible names. Total meme
Maybe
coin.
it's not listed on one of the exchanges that we have, or
It's DeFi,
yeah,
so I don't even know how you chart it. Anyway,
yeah, maybe
it
not.
looks like this right now, and I guarantee you there are kids going in and buying the top of the market, and it's just like, oh, you got to be kidding me! What are you doing? And of course, it keeps doubling in price, and I'm supposed to be selling halves on doubles and blah blah blah. Okay, I'm not quite sure. Oh yeah, we were talking about Mr. Gensler. So, in a weird sort of way, I kind of think he shot his wad, and he kind of made it look. And this is what I think's going on right here. Right, number one, CZ's always 2 or 3 steps ahead of the sort of the competition. I gotta say, man, the guy must have been born with Teflon in his mother's womb, because it's remarkable how all of these players in crypto all sort of fall by the wayside, but they just can't touch CZ.
Yeah.
So, hats off to him. If you ever seen CZ's head, he's got a lot of brains in there. So he's one smart ass motherfucker.
Yep.
But anyway, the point here is that he just accidentally. Oh, there you go. Metador says, "Come Inu isn't a meme coin." Oh, it isn't, eh? So I don't even know how to properly describe these things. It's an OnlyFans competitor adult community token. Okay, that sounds awful legalese. Anyway, whatever the hell it is, we're making money on it. I'd show you it, but I can't seem
Yeah.
to show it on the Coinigy platform. Anyway, Constantine over there says CZ definitely is slippery. So, I mean, do you think it's an accident that a couple months ago he relocated his whole operation back over to Hong Kong?
Not at all.
Of all places in the world to go, Hong Kong?
Yeah.
And I like that baffles me. That's like jumping out of the fire, out of the frying pan and into the fire. But anyway, he's slippery, as Constantine says. That's a good word to use.
Yeah.
Um, and frankly speaking, I don't think that. I think that if he just sat on his laurels, that the FBI would come in and he'd be in handcuffs and he'd be rotting in a prison cell somewhere. But like I said, he's a couple steps ahead of these Americans. I don't think the Americans have the balls to go into like actual Chinese territory and do something like that. That would probably spark a third world war. And he kind of knows that, and I'm sure he's probably bribed some Chinese people up top. But I think there's something bigger going on here. This is just my opinion, but I do believe that the our society now is not really very democratic. It's very, if you're part of the 1%, you buy politicians. You saw how that SBF guy just spent all his time just buying politicians,
Politicians.
right?
Yep.
And the SEC is nothing more than just a puppet of a political body. The SEC is technically part of the executive branch of the US government, which means that it's part of Joe Biden's administration. So the question you have to ask yourself is, how have the Democrats, Joe Biden being Democrat,
Hmm.
what's been their attitude towards crypto? Are they crypto friendly or are they crypto unfriendly?
Unfriendly.
Yeah, in fact, we were putting out pictures and tweets about Mr. Sherman, who is a California person. He was part of the Congress. Of course, Congress now is controlled by the Republicans. So when the Democrats controlled Congress, they had Sherman go after crypto, and then Maxine Waters. You remember her?
Hmm.
She did not like crypto at all. She doesn't like the Facebook crypto kind of idea. She didn't like any of that. But they're not in power there anymore, so you don't hear from them. Who does have the power? That's part of that group, and that is, of course, the president. So now that group, and I also think that they are very in bed with the sort of bankster elites. We don't necessarily need to talk about all the tinfoil hat conspiracy theories and all that. But the point of the matter here is, I think there's a very cozy relationship between things like central bank digital currencies and the Democrats' sort of socialist, sort of big government rule of our society. And, this is coming from a guy who lives in a country where that's completely dominated. There is no back and forth in my country.
Hmm.
It's shocking what's happening in my country, but I don't want to open up a can of worms talking about my country. So anyway, the point of the matter here is, with regard to what happened in the market the other day, I think the initial reaction was, okay, it looks like the U.S. government's getting serious about crypto. They're going to really try and knock the stuffing out of some of these players. And then when he goes after Coinbase, and this is in hindsight, of course, the other side of well, actually, I suppose we could show you a Coinbase chart. What was interesting about Coinbase is the way that the stock itself actually acted on the news,
Mm-hmm.
because it didn't break down. It had a down day, don't get me wrong. And look at that, it was actually up on the day. But you've worked with me long enough, and there is the full chart.
Mm-hmm.
But you've worked with me long enough. You tell me, if I just get rid of all the drawings and stuff like that, is that an image that Brian would want to short, or is that an image that Brian might be interested in actually accumulating now that it's literally 1/10 the
Yeah.
price it was that the public actually got involved at?
Brian likes that one to buy.
Brian likes to buy cheap assets
Yeah.
and then sell them expensive. That's what I do. I'm here to make money from trading. I don't want to get wrapped up in the emotions of all this crap. I just want to try and buy low, sell high, right? Isn't that the way you make money at this game?
Indeed.
So I found it interesting that through all that, did the stock break to new lows? No.
No.
In fact, you might even argue that what they're really trying to do, they're trying to just back the market up into a buying window. Yeah, Brian and his crazy reload zones. I mean, fascinating how there's our reload zone. And all they did, look how they brought the market right back into that zone. And now actually somebody's in here buying this. And what's the just for posterity, just so that I know that you aren't gonna be like a total noob.
That's
Really,
a tail.
you already know what's coming.
It's a
I mean,
tail.
God, listening to all
It's
these,
no, it's an inverted wick.
yeah. Listening to all these newly minted crypto experts, I can't believe how many people are calling these tails wicks, and I don't get it. What? Did they just not bother to go to technical analysis school the day that they were teaching you
I
the
guess
different
not.
parts of candlesticks? It drives me nuts.
Can you zoom out on that chart quick? I want to take a look. I just looked at my when I first bought in at this stock. It was 238. So I thought that I had
238. So that's down in this
so
area.
yeah, so I thought that I was like, I'm not gonna buy it first, and it dipped. I was like, all right, it's back to where it was, and like right there, and then it just went down, and now down 77% on that one. Well, it wasn't much, but that I had of it, but
Fantastic lesson on the 4-year crypto cycles.
uh-huh.
And I hate to say it, but if you actually go and look at Bitcoin's top, and actually we could maybe even do that here, um, you'll notice that Bitcoin actually topped right into that IPO event. And the weird thing is I personally believe that this was all the crony capitalism. So, there's your Bitcoin chart. So there was the IPO.
Uh-huh.
Then there was one more push up top here. This is dog money and all that nonsense, but that was actually the end of the move, not the beginning of the move. So, really, really good lesson on that 4-year cycle. This is also a really good lesson on the money cycle. In that, have you ever, let's see if you remember how this goes.
Mhm.
Don't fight the
Fed.
right. So, looking at, and actually, I don't have the chart up here, and somebody told me to put my bookmarks away, so I can't show you it.
Who?
Just kidding. And really, we don't even want to be looking at TradingView, right? We're Coinigy people.
Freaking Coinigy over here.
So, just the point being that the money cycle actually turned over. As soon as the Feds got serious about raising interest rates, that was your cue that everything was to go into the tank.
I will say, so the company that acquired us is Lightspeed Financial. So we do have plans to be incorporating stocks into Coinigy down the road. So,
Sweet.
so
That'd be cool.
yeah.
So I guess just the point, try and wrap all this statement up, and I'm wasting a lot of time. My apologies,
No
everyone.
worries.
But I believe that this actually, and I think the market actually, when they saw this, especially him going after Coinbase, they were pretty serious when they saw that, okay, he's going after Binance and this is pretty legit and stuff. And then they went after Coinbase the next day, and everybody went, what? But didn't you just endorse IPO? I'm sorry, Mr. Gessler, you just lost all the credibility in our
Mm-hmm.
eyes. I think that's exactly what happened. So, unfortunately, I think a lot of this, sadly, though, has a lot to do with the intense emotion in this space. Um, I would make the argument that we have actually come a fairly long way. This asset has doubled in price since December.
Yeah.
Uh, so, technically speaking, we're actually pretty vulnerable here. And then also, too, what letters of the alphabet do you see out of these indicators? Hint, hint, hint. Brian likes to see W's. W's are bullish. But
Yeah.
you tell me when you look at this, maybe what I'll do is I'll change this to a line. I mean, just tell me what letter of the alphabet does this look like? And you should be
That's
able
an
to.
M.
Yeah. So, it's histogram. Let's see if we can just change it to a line. There you go. So,
That's about as M as it gets.
yeah, it's pretty clear cut and dry, isn't it? So, do we really want to be uberly bullish in the face of that?
Not
I think the answer is
particularly.
pretty straightforward.
Yeah.
So, the issue that I have here is that I was listening to the social media influencers and stuff the other day, and actually, you know what? Before I lose that, I just want to go and put all my notes back on this coin chart just so I don't lose everything here. Hold on.
Smart.
Yeah, because I mean, you can see I got a bit of notes here. And, just FYI, I am the type of person that in fact, I was even telling you this earlier, that I'm actually in there buying a lot of crypto right now.
Mm-hmm.
And I look at 2023, and, this is, I guess, a tout for TRI. And actually, I even showed you Josh's handsome picture there. I don't know what page that was on. Was that over here? No. Anyway, remember we were looking at the YouTube page. Yeah, here we are. This gentleman here actually is sort of TRI's official blogger, and he should win a Nobel Prize in economics. And he keeps doing the kind of blogs that he's doing here. This stuff is next level. You will not be able to find better analysis and research about the market, even from like Wall Street itself. That's how. And I've been at this game 35 years, people. If you're watching this after the fact, you probably look at me and go, "Hey, he's a pretty young guy." I mean, I've been playing this stock market game a long time.
When you're playing it
And
right, it doesn't add age. It
yeah,
doesn't
something
age
like
you.
that.
It keeps you young.
So anyway, the point of the matter, and this blog is such a great resource. I tell you, it's as I said, if I had stumbled upon, and it's free too. That's the killer thing, Matador, right? He's pointing out there over on YouTube. It's 100% free. And the cool thing is some of the work that Josh has done here. I tell you, I mean, it's next level what he's done here. It's absolutely incredible. But and you've probably heard this before from me. But 2023 is actually an accumulation year. This is Benner and the Benner cycle.
Yep.
And what's so cool about this is actually you go on YouTube now, and the public is just learning about this stuff. But actually, what's really cool, and I love this, but no offense to Mr. Benner, because I'm sure he's probably sitting there rolling in his grave. But now, when you go on things like Google and you search for the Benner cycle, actually be interesting to see what comes up. Oh, interesting. So, Josh, there you go. This is all of Josh's work. In fact, this is our mouse pad that he put together.
No way.
Here. But now, when you Google the Benner cycle, it's all TRI's images that pop up here, which is kind of cool. But I suppose people are now hijacking us. Ah, isn't that interesting? So other people now are hijacking this study. Isn't that
That's
funny?
great.
But
Well,
anyway,
not
the
great,
point
but
being that
interesting.
even 4 or 5 months ago, when you like Google search Benner cycle, it was primarily there's the rational investor, right? The those hits were coming up. But and actually, it's interesting. Like I said, recently, it's now sort of gone viral again. But the point here is that we've been talking about this for quite a while.
Yeah.
2023 is an accumulation year. So I am just buying, buying, buying. I'm not buying in big chunks. If anything, I think I showed all of you guys. Here is this is my little old lady canasta club plan. I've already bought into 30 names here, and I just want to keep accumulating 31. That's what we're up to now. And this actually, here's a really good example. This was one of Chico Crypto's favorite names from the recent cycles. And I was showing you this before we got the show going here. This is a name, and it's kind of the same thing that we saw there on what was the other asset that we were looking at?
EWT.
Yeah, EWT. That's this one. Um, and
I think try KuCoin. I think that one might have more data on it.
yeah, could be.
Well, we'll see. Maybe
There.
that's fine if you want to zoom out. But I know we've had KuCoin on Coinigy for a lot longer.
Yeah. So just the point is, just looking at that chart, is that the kind of asset? Remember, I was talking earlier about buy low, sell high, that kind of
Yep.
thing. I mean, is that the kind of asset that Brian's probably going to be interested in?
Yeah,
I
it's a
mean,
lot
it's
easier
been,
to sell half on the double when it's
yeah.
like
I mean,
that.
where is a double? Double if
Yeah, it's
it
at
figures at
five
270.
bucks.
Yeah, so basically
Five,
five and
yeah.
change right there, just a test of these highs, and I can get myself a risk-free trade. Is that realistic? After basically like a 2 year absolute train wreck. And of course, hey, technical analysis doesn't matter. Just go and buy and you get rich. Of course, the public was buying there when Alan was on Saturday Night Live and stuff. Just terrible, terrible idea. But now that it's basically down in the pooper, Brian's there accumulating, accumulating, accumulating. So, there's tons of names that look like this in the crypto space. I don't really want to really pound the table about any one name in particular. In fact, actually, our TRI CTO, Sjord, um, he is more the crypto FA expert, and he has a list of about a half a dozen names that he absolutely loves fundamentally. And TRI is actually buying sizable positions in those names. And those are the kind of names that are going to buy us islands. For whatever it's worth. I mean, this is kind of a fun story. But just to give you an idea of how smart Sjord is, um, what the hell was the name of that damn thing? Luna? Um, Sjord, actually, I don't even know. It'd be interesting to see if this even comes up here anymore. There we go.
Ugh.
Sjord was interested in Luna here. So, how do you think Sjord did through that bull market?
He bought an island.
If you see his house in the Netherlands, you might actually call it an island. It's a pretty fucking big house. So, I mean, the irony of it all is that, Sjord was loading up here, and there are names that he's buying right now. Like there's one right now that he thinks is very similar. That's Rune. And what do you think? Is that the kind of name that Brian might be slightly interested in?
Yep.
Buy low, sell high. You know how this game works. So just the point being that uh, 2023 is the accumulation year. You got to force yourself to accumulate. And by all means, if you want that list of really sexy, fundamental, really, really solid ideas, well, maybe consider joining TRI and come in every Tuesday. Stuart does an update on the daily brief, the video that we do daily on the site, and updates our community on what he's seeing in the crypto space.
Yeah. Yep.
Brian's, and I'm talking way too much. My apologies.
No, I love it.
But Brian's sort of, I don't like to think. I mean, like I said, you see how kind of young I look. Still have a bit of hair on the top of my head, though, although it is starting to go. Boo, hiss, hiss, boo. And it looks really dirty right now. So I'll put my baseball cap back on. But this is what I like to do. And when it comes to investing, I like to have fun with this. So, this was, and I did this with Will when
Hmm.
we first did the Bitcoin and altcoin trading talk shows years ago. Basically, I just said, look, I'll take $500, and that was actually Bitcoin was about $460 then, so it came out to, or maybe about 430 or something, came out to about 1.25 coins, which was about $500. And ironically enough, actually, we can show you the audited statement. Somebody was like, "You don't have audited statements, so I don't believe you. I think you're actually lying." Well, actually, I could show you the bank deposits. We actually ended up closing this all out at about 375,000 US dollars.
Beautiful.
So what the hell? I mean, the thing with Will was that I was going to take $500 and turn it into 100 G. So I considered this whole thing was done. It was over when I hit the 100 grand because that was the whole point of the exercise.
Hmm.
But the point here is that I like to have fun at this. I like to keep the hair on the top of my head. I don't like to invest too much money in any one name. So that is basically this kind of strategy. In fact, when I was a retail stockbroker, we used to call this the little old lady approach. Actually, I named it because this is how I would have all my little old ladies play the stock market because they never want to get a phone call that they're been liquidated. They don't ever want that phone call ever. So, is there a way that you can manage their portfolio where they can participate in the market, but they're never subject to margin calls? And if one of these names blows up and goes off the board, it's interesting. One of these little ones that I was buying, I actually went and bought a little bit more, and somebody politely told me on the site, "Oh, Brian, by the way, that company just filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy." So I
Great.
was like, okay, maybe we won't buy any more of that one.
Yeah.
And this plan actually is perfectly fine. That was this VGX. And you can see I bought some and then I quickly just liquidated it when I heard that they were in Chapter 11 bankruptcy.
So you got out.
So the point here is that even if these things go to zero, it's not that big of a deal because look at the bets. They're really, really small.
Yeah.
And ideally, each of these bets should top out at around $500. I did put a little bit more money in Ubic, but Ubic's a funny one. That's this kind of conversation because if the guys that we used to do the Bitcoin and altcoin trading talk shows, one of the
Alex.
guys is a principal at Ubic.
Yeah.
If anything, I even reached out to him and said, "Hey, would you like to come on? We're doing the bat shows again." He was like, "Yeah, actually, yeah, that'd be a lot of fun." So in the weeks and months ahead, we might have Alex come back on the show.
That'd be
But
awesome.
I mean, I don't know whether we can show this and if anything, maybe if you're talking to the higher ups, might be an idea for you to somehow actually be able to chart DeFi because, like for instance, Ubic is it does have an Ethereum wrapped
Hmm.
token. The only exchange that they're on is on Trex, and of course, Trex just basically, I think
Say
they just filed
goodbye.
for bankruptcy, eh?
Yeah.
So we can't really use this as a trading platform
We
anymore.
we
I mean,
have DYDX as a DeFi exchange, I think,
all
but I
right.
guess it's not listed on there.
Like this guy also has an Ethereum wrapped token. And then they have bridging and stuff like that. So that's one way that I follow it. I mean, you can use the Trex quote. But anyway, you look at the chart here, right? And you can see, I mean, this has been an absolute train wreck.
Yeah.
But again, same
This is
sort
where
of
you're buying.
conversation. Huh?
This is where you can be buying. Not financial advice for any of this, by the way.
That's right. And remember, everybody who's watching this, right? Just
Yes.
understand, I will never tell you what to buy and sell. I don't care what you do with your money. I've been at this game forever. I know the rules. You want to learn the rules? Fine. Okay. You can come and take our education program and learn the rules. If you decide to follow the rules, fundamentals, great, awesome. If you decide to say, screw it, I've actually had people take the TRI program, and they actually have publicly come on TRI and say, Brian, like this Luna, for example, which was such a shame to hear about. But they even publicly said, Brian, I respect your 35 years in the business, but sorry, I'm not going to listen to your advice about risk management. And they actually literally rode this thing right down to nothing. They were like literally millionaires, and then they basically lost it all,
Sad.
which is something I will never let happen. That just does not happen to me. For
Yeah.
whatever it's worth, and this is kind of a fun one because, like I said, the fundamentalist Seward, he got interested in here. Hopefully, when you look at this chart, you kind of go, well, I got a funny feeling I know where that Beamish guy is probably going to be buying.
Mm-hmm.
And that's our good old reload zones, right? Let's see how I can do this. 61.8. And what's the bottom of the reload zone? Do you remember?
It is 78.6. Your BFS.
Nice. Notice that
Brian's
was the
famous fib.
And look, wow, that thing W'd out right in that zone there.
Mm-hmm.
So guess where Brian was long Luna? I mean, it shouldn't be rocket science.
Yeah.
I was basically long from $5. And because I religiously forced myself to take profits and ring the register,
Pay
I
yourself
sold
first.
some up here in the 30s. Then I sold some up here in the 60s. And the funny thing about this is the hilarious part about all this. I literally had an order working at $120 and like 20 cents. But even with this falling apart like this, I'm long from $5. I already got like 10x trades off on this thing.
Yeah.
Did Brian lose any money on this thing? No,
Nope.
didn't lose a penny. In fact, I even came out pretty well ahead. I mean, it would have been epic had I gotten that fill up top there. If anything, what a great analogy. That once we got up top here, I didn't even really care so much, right? Because
Yeah.
This $5 buy, I should have been selling half at 10 and then selling another half at 20, but I actually waited to $30 to actually sell half, right? So I did pretty darn well on this thing. So anyway, really good analogy. But the point of the matter here is, I was telling you, this isn't financial advice. Do, with your money as you please. I've actually had people take the education program and say, Brian, I don't care what you think. I'm just going to do what I'm going to do. And they ended up losing everything. And that's the whole reason why I teach this education program, risk management, try and build a plan, stick yourself to the plan, you're only as good as you are, as you can follow the plan, blah, 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 blah. The same thing is sort of happening now right across the board in crypto. And this UBIC just happens to be yet another example. So I picked up a bit of this UBIC just because, and it's the same logic as I said there earlier. At 2 cents, what do I have to see to get a risk-free trade? If we can get any kind of rally on this thing up into, say, 4 or 5 cents, then I sell half on a double, get myself a risk-free trade, and then after that, I don't really care what the hell happens.
Yeah.
You get some sort of insane pop. I mean, this thing technically should go back to 40 cents. So if I'm long from 2 cents and it goes back to 40 cents, or what is that? Is that 30 or 40? I can't read 30.
39.6.
Yeah. Okay, we'll call it better part of 40 cents. Right? And you can see we've already had this conversation. Wicks and tails like to be eaten, trap bulls, blah, 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 blah. That's 20x. 20x on your money? That's not so bad.
No complaints.
So
I'm
anyway,
if I had 20x my money.
yeah. I mean, this is how you do these silly things like take $500 and ramp it up into hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Mm-hmm.
The only problem here, though, is you have to put the market into context. Am I expecting to bang out doubles here tomorrow on this thing? Absolutely not. And in fact, again, if you go back to our blog, I mean, this blog is just incredible. it literally tells you exactly when the next market cycle's top's gonna come in. So we can just go back to our blog. You want to refer to Mr. Benner? Well, Mr. Benner, he would say that this thing, it's fascinating how many other people have now jumped on this Benner image, eh? But he would say that your next peak here is 2020. Where are we here? 2023. You can see the next minor cycle peak is 2026. Does that align with anything that we think about here in crypto? Well, actually, it does. Because if you think about the 4-year cycles, that's this image. And it's quite shocking how cliche this is. So 4-year cycles, and the good part about it is you've got the halvening event as your timing tool. Here we are coming into another halvening event. And you'll notice that at about a year and a half following the halvening event, Bitcoin usually puts in a top. Well, if you project this out, year and a half following the halvening event, that will take us into the fall of 2025, winter of 2026, just sort of like what we had here, what we had here, what we had here. That's what these images are. So accumulation year, that's what we want to be doing. And into the fall of 2025, this is probably the winter of 2026. That's when you're going to be doing all your major selling. And you're probably going to be hearing the next sort of wave of the Luna type people and the SBF type people and all that kind of stuff. Anyway, I don't really
That
know
makes
that much.
sense. No, that's very interesting stuff.
Yeah.
We do.
So,
Looks like we did get a couple people, but that asked us for some charts. But I think we charted two of these three in the past. So we got ADA, Link, and then ETC Ethereum Classic. Which is
oh, actually,
interesting.
Mr. Silbert.
I honestly, Ethereum Classic's one that I really don't know much about.
That's Barry Silbert. And actually, it's interesting because that's a really good example. Well, let's go through it. Maybe we'll finish off the show with Barry. But Barry, technically, in ETC is actually a purist. Vitalik actually is a market manipulator. So try to wrap your head around that.
Interesting.
But we'll get to that in a minute. All right. So where do we want to look at Adam? Do we want to
Yeah, let's try Bittrex.
Trex?
Or sorry, not Bit. Bitstamp.
Yeah, we could do stamp. I mean,
Gotta get used to the Bittrex's going down, sinking
yeah.
ship.
I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised if they're probably going to lay low for a little while, and then they'll like sort of reemerge in the international space.
Like what BitMEX did, laid low for a little bit, and then they're kind of
Arthur's sort of very quiet these days. He does still tweet a bit, but I think he's out of sort of exchange business.
Yeah.
And as I said before, like I personally think that this is all just nothing more than a power play. The 1% that controls the U.S. economy and U.S. society, they are positioning themselves that when this next crypto cycle comes, and as I said here, this is kind of a funny, cheeky Simpsons reference, that I believe crypto is going to be big. I think it's going to be big in the U.S. I think you're going to have commercials constantly shilling this shit. The U.S. marketing machine, everybody and their brother is going to be invested in crypto. It's just they want to make damn sure that CME and BlackRock, and I also think to a certain degree, Coinbase is being used as a bit of a puppet here. These people are the ones that are going to make the most money out of all of these exchanges, not some punk ass bitch out of China, not some punk ass bitch out of Seattle, not some punk ass bitch out of Seychelles. There's no fucking way they're going to eat Wall Street's lunch here.
No.
That's what's going on here. But anyway, that's another conversation. Okay, let's actually talk a little TA. So here's probably a really good example of buy when it snows, Notice November, December. Sell when it goes. And of course, sell in what month? And
May and
walk
walk
away. How does
away.
that go? So also too, this is actually a very powerful 2-bar pattern. What's that called?
Institutional fingerprint?
Not
No,
quite.
dang it.
Completely different reference. This is like candlestick wise, right? They would call this railroad tracks.
Okay.
So you notice the bodies is just straight up and then straight down.
Sure.
And the key here is, do you have acceptance below here, which we have. So unfortunately, that's a bit of a reversal.
The reason I said that, I do have a drawing in my notebook there. I guess you can't see on it, but I do have the institutional fingerprint, and it's similar but upside down. But that's in the reload zone, at the bottom of the reload zone. So I guess I was wrong. Jumped the gun. I just saw a similar chart pattern in the one I have drawn.
Yeah.
I digress.
What I would say, probably add a note to that, is institutional fingerprint is our way to see where the institutions turned the market in after the fact. Does that make sense?
Could you say that one more time?
Institutional fingerprint is our visual reference to be able to see exactly where the smart money, 1% institutions, whatever you want to call them, where they put tops and bottoms into the market after the fact. So further down the road.
Okay.
So you are right, because we can look back and go, yeah, that was the top, and look at where price is now. So you are technically correct with what you were saying. The question here I'd have for you, and this is more of just Brian being a cheeky teacher, what's the definition of the institutional fingerprint? Do you have that written down there?
I do not. I have the bottom of the reload zone equals institutional fingerprint.
No.
No.
So scratch that out.
No? No. Bummer.
The institutional fingerprint is the bar that made the high or low plus the preceding bar. So here, for example, the institutional fingerprint, can you see the screen?
Yep.
It would be this bar and this bar.
Okay.
And we know that if we look back in hindsight, this is where they stopped the bull market, right? And started turning it into a bear.
Okay.
So you could also make the argument that this, the bar that made the low, plus the preceding bar, this is also an institutional fingerprint.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
It does.
Now, it just so happens that quite often these institutional fingerprints happen in reload zones.
Okay.
It's not an accident that they, if it's a top, that, maybe if we did a fib from, say, this low back up to that high, you notice that the top of that rally was right to the bottom of our reload zone. It happens a lot. I don't think this is actually really the best chart for us to look at, because really we want to see quite a bit of time here. Let's maybe, the irony of it all, like we talked about, I don't think Binance is going anywhere. I think CZ, I think he literally has a bulletproof vest built all around him. He probably has one of those shells, those, if a bullet actually came in, it would just be absorbed by the shell, right?
Yeah.
And he wouldn't get hurt. But I think he has been politely told, get the fuck out of the U.S. market. This is our playground, and don't you dare come back. And if you do come back, you're going to be thrown in jail.
Definitely.
And mysteriously, you're going to accidentally commit suicide in jail. So you better be careful. And that's real. That's real shit. That's the real world we live in.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people are accidentally committing suicide these days, eh? So that's the modern day Scrooge Dickinsonian capitalist world that I think that we're moving back towards, which really sucks, eh? So, if anything, hats off to CZ for being one step ahead of these guys. The only problem is do you think Winnie the Pooh is any more friendly than the U.S.? Uh-oh. Have you? Where's that Jack Ma guy? At least he didn't accidentally commit suicide, eh?
Yeah.
Or Jackie Chan, or any of the millions of Uyghurs. The one good part about Winnie is at least he'll keep you alive, but you'll be a slave for him for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
Anyway, so and I don't know what kind of deal CZ has cut with the Chinese. I do find it fascinating that probably the one place in this world, I don't even think you could go to Russia and actually be immune. Like I wouldn't be surprised if there's CIA all over Russia. But China's an interesting place. I don't think the Americans have the balls to actually go in there and actually tinker around inside China. So it is interesting that he chose to go there. But that's politics and crap. I guess just the point here is I don't think Binance is going anywhere. So for probably a lot of these, it would probably be a good idea for us to refer to Binance. Now,
Yeah.
notice, did you see how that chart kind of changed a little bit?
Yeah.
Are we actually
Let's
at the
see.
bottom here yet? What do you think? Kind of looks like there's a bit of open room here to go
There's
even
definitely
further to
some
the right.
open room.
Yeah, because I mean, there's the lows from last cycle. If we zoom in, and fascinating with ADA, um, if Gensler is going to crap on crypto about it being a security, ADA technically with the whole POS paying people, master nodes validating the network, all that kind of stuff, that's exactly the stuff that Mr. Gensler doesn't like, right? So there is your ultimate low on ADA, and this versus USDT. So we understand that. Can you see how we can make the argument here? The bar that made the low plus the preceding bar, that's
That's
your
the
institutional
institutional fingerprint.
fingerprint there on ADA.
Okay.
And really, the rule is that you take this range and you break it into three. So the top end of the range should be a really powerful support level because the people that put this floor into this ADA way back when, they don't really want to see it go down there. Also, too, they say, maybe take this range and break it in half. So that's probably a pretty important level. And also notice, too, look how all these lows line up. Look how these highs and then that low lines up. So that's just about, I'm just eyeballing it, but that looks like it's about 50% of that range.
That makes sense.
And then, ultimately, they probably don't want to see this asset go through the floor that they put in, which is the bottom of that zone.
Could you zoom out so I can see where that's located on the chart?
Right. So let's hit the squiggly. In fact, here, why don't we change this to like yellow so we can discern these? And then maybe we'll do red as sort of the ultimate line in the sand. All right, so yellow, red, teal, sort of midpoints. Let's see where that is. That's all down here.
Okay. Yeah, that is way down there.
So,
So you say,
this is the kind of thing that I think what happened here was you had a very normal, like in venture capital, there is a lot of incentive for people to sell into tax loss selling windows. Anybody who bought this on a regulated exchange or, worked with any kind of real sort of financial advisor, if they made a ton of money on like Amazon or Microsoft or even other cryptos for that matter, and they're gonna be facing a capital gains tax bill, right?
mm-hmm.
So quite often, portfolio managers heading into the calendar year will simply look at their portfolios. If they did make a big capital gain somewhere else, then they're going to come back and they're going to say, okay, I got to find some losers to sell to offset that capital gain. Does that make sense?
It does.
All right. to notice that YouTube is giving me the circly circles. Is
It
your
is.
YouTube
It's
page
saying
still
it
streaming?
says excellent connection on my
Okay,
side.
good, good. Might just be, my page is messy. Yep, actually, I just refreshed it. That's fine. So this is, if you are here to make money from trading, this is super important that you learn this. Everybody must learn this. So, of course, this is when FTX blew up and all that kind of stuff, right? The selling orgy was just absolutely over the top.
Yes,
But if
December.
you're a smart investor, shouldn't you be thinking, well, if everybody else is selling, what should I be doing? Maybe buying.
Buy it.
Also, too, and write this down in your journal. If you ever hear of anybody ever doing anything in the marketplace that is based on a tax driven decision, it's usually a bad investment decision. Does that make sense?
It does. But it's
You
just
know,
tax based. So it's not like fundamentally sound per
that's
se.
right. People are
It's
selling here because of tax related reasons,
huh.
not really related to the fact that ADA is a good product or not. Of course, the crypto kids and our little kids, inverted wicks and stuff that have no idea what the fuck they're doing, they wouldn't understand any of this. This is completely beyond them. They're wrapped up in the short term sort of hype cycle. They're
Whatever's trending
wrapped
on
up.
TikTok.
That's exactly right. They're wrapped up in how many views and stuff their videos can get, and who's the social influencer that's pumping and dumping. But they don't understand this institutional conversation about why markets move based on tax related reasons. Man, I don't, it's because I've been at this game. Remember, I was a full service broker, stockbroker, options broker, commodities broker. I mean, I've done everything in this business. So I would know this kind of stuff and I would understand exactly what's going on here. So the sad part about it is there anything that happens in particular right around the April, May time window that might be tax related?
Um, for tax day, or
Well,
taxes are
more
due in April
importantly,
15th.
but more
Oh,
importantly, and I'd be curious because you're an American, right?
yes,
So you get a paycheck from your higher ups?
yes.
Is there any, do you get the full value of your
No, there's
paycheck?
taxes taken out each
Oh, really?
paycheck,
So
and
somebody actually takes money away from you, even though theoretically the tax deadline isn't like maybe for months or maybe even a year down the road.
yep,
And so what happens if you actually paid more than what you
get
actually
those tax returns.
right? So that's a tax related event, isn't it?
Yeah,
Is the
so
public getting money given to them or is money being taken away?
can go either way.
No, because remember we said most people are on a withholding schedule.
Yeah,
So that means that most
yeah,
taxpayers have actually already forward paid their taxes.
true. And then they get the return.
And you get a refund. I don't know.
Hmm.
Did you get any refund this year? Most people do.
I 1099 for coaching, so I did have to pay a little bit, I think. Uh,
Okay.
but that's different. It's
Uh,
separate.
just the point being that if you were Joe Schlub, you were punching a clock. Adam there, he goes tax return, right?
Yeah.
Because I think Adam, he works for one of these big retailers down in the States. So he gets he gets a regular paycheck. And of course, withholding tax is taken off of that.
Yeah.
So, you shouldn't be surprised the sell in May and walk away cliche. But what is the public probably doing through like the month of April and maybe even early May?
Buying.
Yeah. So what a surprise. Top comes in the market. Why? because the public's like, oh, I got my tax refund. And oh my God, have you listened to how hot crypto is right now? And oh my God, I got to get. And have you been watching these crypto YouTube channels? All these guys are getting rich. And hell, they're doing so good. They got Rolex watches and their raffles and stuff. They're so fucking rich. I want to be like these guys.
Yeah.
Right? I got to get in there. What do they want to buy? They want to buy, they want to buy. I got to buy that too. Right? And now I've got some money in my pocket. So let's rock and roll.
Yeah.
And the sad part about it is you're just like they're literally walking right into a trap. I mean,
Makes sense to me.
it's shocking how cliche this is. So, not a big surprise. Market top comes in April, and then the cliche, of course, is sell in May. And is there anybody's birthday that we should maybe make a note of? That gee whiz, if I ever hear that this clown's birthday's coming up, I better get the fuck out of the market.
4th of July?
No.
But
Well, isn't that interesting? Adam, whose birthday is it that comes up that almost every damn year the market loves to tank into this guy's birthday?
honestly, I'm not.
You don't remember this, eh? You didn't write it down anywhere. I'd write it down because it's shocking how consistent this is. I mean, it's absolutely shocking.
Who's
Brian's birthday.
Oh, it's always
Uh,
on yours?
Oh yeah, it's ridiculous.
What day is that?
But actually, it's cool because it's the first time in my life I've ever seen it. But you've actually got to know Chris,
Yeah.
our show director producer, and it turns out that his birthday is the same birthday as my day. I've never met anybody else in the
What
world.
day is that?
May 11th.
It's May 11th.
So, and actually, it was funny. You know, is it an accident? I don't know. But if you actually look at Bitcoin itself, it like literally tanked on my birthday. So cliche. And everybody's all like, ah, Brian, you bastard, you broke the market again, you know.
That's funny.
Anyway.
Well, it's Brian and Chris's fault.
Yeah, well, and so on the site on a regular basis, we're always bantering back and forth. Whose fault is this? Is it your fault or is it my fault? Anyway, I'm not quite sure what I've done here. Maybe my internet. Yeah, so if we just go to the daily chart, ironically enough, I think it was like literally the day after my birthday that Bitcoin broke. Where are we here? May 20.
We got the 11 tick on the bottom there.
There it is, 11th. Right there.
Yeah, it's a nice.
And in essence, that was basically when we structurally broke down here. So, and I mean, thank heavens we bounced back, so it wasn't too bad. But you tell me, what letters of the alphabet do you see here? Do you see more W's or more M's? And if we change this to maybe like a line chart, it'll be easier for you to see.
More M's.
Yeah, I mean, there's a big M. Ugh. There's M's. There's an M. And look at these bottoms, right? Straight V bottom. You had a little bit of a W there and translated into a half decent rally. But I just keep seeing more M's, more M's, more M's. Maybe we can W out here. I don't know. I don't think so, but that's just opinion. Anyway, so back to ADA. I think you could make the argument that we just went through a bit of a seasonal top there. The good part about it is that, you know, here is on this entire range, and sometimes these ranges are so big, it might actually be helpful to change this to a log scale, just so you can see price action a little clearer. So based on the logarithmic scale, can you see there is that institutional fingerprint we talked about?
Yep.
So here we are, and actually one way to help you, and I don't know whether we can do this on Coinigy, but there are different ways that you can measure these fibs. And if you, maybe you can ask the higher ups whether they can have this as a, oh, there you go. Yeah, based on log scale. So we don't have to.
Yeah, trading, that's nice that they offer it, but yeah, TradingView holds some of their settings near and dear to their hearts.
Yeah. So, you know, if we throw on things like good old reload zone, 61.8 to 78.6, I always like the 88.6 because I think also venture cap, I think its reload zone is actually 78.6 to 88.6.
Mhm.
I'd say like blue chip stock, that kind of stuff, is probably more 61.8. Actually, I learned this, a million years ago from an old crude oil trader that I used to work with, and this was his favorite trade level, 61.8. So, but that's trading like, the big commodity contracts. But nonetheless, notice if we draw our reload zone based off of this logarithmic chart, look how Brian's big fat fib, that BFF,
Yeah,
lines up perfectly with the top of that uh,
it's,
institutional fingerprint. Isn't that incredible?
that is.
Also, too, if we're
I think
thinking,
that's what I had. Why I had that bottom of the reload zone written down. I think we had a similar drawing like that.
well, what I would say is coincidentally, you are going to see that reload zones line up nicely with institutional fingerprints. It's not an accident,
Mm-hmm.
right? We actually often say that if you can find three unrelated reasons to justify acting in the market, odds are you can probably find four, five, six, seven, eight, and nine. Because a good trade is a good trade is a good trade. And a good trade, you'll be able to look at it 20 different ways and go, yeah, that's a good trade. Yeah, that's a good trade. So anyway, the point I would say here is if we look at this from a logarithmic perspective, sort of measuring growth, first and foremost, I mean, is this realistic growth? For this thing to go from basically a penny to $3 in about a year and a half? Does that sound sustainable?
Nope.
I mean, the irony of it all is this is like Ubik, right? Ubik said 2 cents. This thing's a penny and a half. It's the same logic.
Mm-hmm.
At $3, if Ubik gets to $3, oh man, I'm gonna have a big fat Lambo coming out of my ass.
Yeah.
I don't officially, and I sorry if that was a bit graphic, but
No.
I actually told the public, and I'm totally fine with this. I even told you.
Yeah, you're gonna dye your hair.
That's right. I said, because this is a Ubik NFT. And I said, I will dye my hair purple on this show if Ubik goes to all time highs. And who knows if Ubik will,
It
but
will. We'll speak. Actually, wait.
stranger
I can't
things
say that.
happen. Stranger things in this world have happened. But I'll tell you, if Ubik pulls a move like this and it goes up to $3, $4 a coin, Liam definitely is going to be a happy little boy.
Heck yeah.
That's my son.
Yeah.
All right. So, point of the matter here is, if we look at this from a log scale, I think we could probably still work our way a bit lower here. We did go through a very normal seasonal pattern here. This is so cliche, it's ridiculous. Could you have gotten a double off here? That was 24 cents, and they worked it up to 44 cents, 45 cents. So, not quite. Interestingly enough, I don't know whether I actually believe that this seasonal move is over. Because as you can see from this chart, oh, what a surprise. All they've done is they're just backing it up into a reload zone. So what I would say is if you're bullish of ADA and you want to trade this, then obviously what I want to see here is I want to see a certain letter of the alphabet.
W.
Yeah. So, we can go back down to the daily charts. We know, I mean, higher time frame, if these lows don't hold, right? If this low that we saw January, or I guess November, December, if they don't hold, then yeah, we could go quite a ways lower here. But I don't know. I don't think that they really want to take this thing back, but that's just purely opinion.
Yeah.
If anything, what we have to do as good technicians is put our opinions away and just trade the chalk marks. Right? So just trade exactly what you see. What I see here is A to B. Oops, wrong button.
B to D.
Exactly. So you've been doing these harmonics with me long enough. C to D. So you can see, and interestingly enough, remember we draw this trend line. This trend line must have come off of some important peak. And actually, Bitcoin is doing exactly this right now. Notice this trend line was actually drawn off of the original top. And interesting too, notice that this trend line is that high and that high. You see that?
Mm-hmm.
So here, let's go back to the regular chart so you can see it a little bit better. Um, and actually you can see this could be crisped up a little bit. So let's go there. And there. And look at that. 1, 2, 3. Ooh, very valid trend line. Super important. Great example here. This is not a trade. You can't take that trade.
Why
And
is
I'll
it?
write that down. You're only allowed to buy if you see a W on the other side of this trend line. And notice that, eh? Like anybody who chased that said, hey, there's a trend line breakout. That's a buy. Whoa, man. You looked like Mr. Smarty Pants for what, maybe 2 or 3 weeks? And then you just got your head handed to you. And look how the market came back and had to come right back down and trade right back to that trend line. Fascinating, eh? So I guess what I'm trying to say here with this, I suppose that's a good sign that we've lost that primary trend line. I'd almost say that because we're making lower highs and lower lows here, I get the impression that maybe we're doing something like there to there now. So same sort of thing. You're not allowed to buy the break of this trend line. That's a trap. And look how they've just been messing around with the kids' brains here. They did start to move it up in earnest here. So W's fall on the other side of this trend line, not a bad idea. But it was interesting how he drew that trend line earlier and the ABCD came down into it. This one here, not so much. But I suppose, check that out. That's interesting how, look where we are there. So 88.6. Remember I said, I've personally found that venture capitals, penny stocks, shitcoin, stuff like that, I kind of like that that's your reload zone for the crypto market. And so notice how the market itself is actually projecting that with that AB equals CD. Also, too, have we talked about when markets seasonally like to bottom?
Um,
10, 10, 10. It's something to do. And actually, you did even make reference to it earlier. So we have talked about it before.
oh, the 4th of July.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Markets love to, the cliche is sell in May. And of course, here's Brian's birthday.
Yeah.
And interesting how they dump the market right into Brian's birthday. Interesting how they put in this battle here. Hey, what a war. Broke it out, and that was a head fake, and they just blasted everyone here. I don't like the fact that if we did the fib from this high, right there, back to this low, this battle was at the 50% level, and you'd be basically buying almost near the upper end part of the range. Remember, we're cheap asses, and location. We want to try and buy near the bottom end of ranges. So hunting this setup here, I mean, maybe you took it. I mean, it's not a terrible idea, but you better have, had some kahunas with regard to risk management. And on the day that this failed right here, you better have gotten the hell out of that trade. Right, that W was broken right there. Yeah, that's your signal. Get the hell out.
Gotcha.
And I wouldn't be surprised, like I said, I like this as a technical objective down here. So let's see how this market acts into the end of June, beginning of July. And what's really interesting, actually, is it's not crypto related, but I'm a really big fan of, where is he? This gentleman, Larry Williams.
Okay.
You probably heard of Williams percentage R.
Yep.
Also, he has the accumulation distribution. I'm almost positive that that's attributed to him, but it might not be. It might be a different person. Anyway, very famous investor. He does very, very well. Um, he had this, and this is on YouTube, so anybody can go watch this. We actually spent a lot of time in the video today on the TRI site, picking apart all of his charts. And he's basically suggesting that stock market bottom should come in somewhere around the maybe the end of the second week of July. So what a surprise. End of first week, end of second week of July. That would correspond with this nicely as well, eh?
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that's an accident.
No.
I think that's actually perfect, makes perfect sense. Now, the worst part about this, though, because we just did this trend line a study here, and actually, I don't like the results of this.
Yeah.
Is you might find that actually we have to come down and kiss this trend line. And if we do, then that implies that these lows have been broken, which implies that we're still very much in a bear. And these numbers down in here are actually very realistic.
Yeah, could come into play.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So this test of this level, I wouldn't say there's anything really to learn here right now. But this test right in here, if you want to take a screenshot of this, right? And anybody who's watching this video after the fact, I'll zoom out on this if you're an ADA fan, and really probably the entire crypto space. This is a pretty good example of a pretty typical cryptocurrency. It is POS. It is subject to all of the issues that Mr. Gensler has with regard to POS, and is it a security or is it not? I think he actually has a perfectly legitimate a beef. You know, the crypto space just sort of convinced itself that you could go and do these ICOs. Do you remember ICOs?
Yep.
Initial coin
offerings.
Well, what the hell's the difference between an ICO and in the stock market they call it an IPO, initial public offering. And there's a reason in the stock market. I mean, a lot of the conspiracy people will say, well, because of all the bureaucratic fees and the process and stuff, it's a way for the 1% to keep Joe Sixpack and like new entrepreneurs and stuff out of the market. And okay, I mean, I can understand that argument. But there's a reason I've always said a little bit of regulation isn't such a bad thing. Do you remember the guy who was behind FTX?
SBF.
No, that's not. I think SBF was actually a puppet.
You mentioned it in the past.
He actually had a history.
The guy from Solana, right?
Yeah. Well, not Solana, FTX.
Oh, kind of thing.
But they're all connected.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, Solana was connected to FTX, which is connected to Alameda, and it was all Ponzi, and it was all interconnected. And they made it so incredibly complicated, the connections, that people, after like 10 minutes of trying to figure it out, just went, oh, fuck it, this is too difficult. I don't know what the hell you're doing. Oh, yeah, you say it's going to go up, fine, I'll buy it. You know, and that's the sad part about capitalism.
Mm-hmm.
But he actually had a history. And if you scroll back on my Twitter feed, you can find out who he is. I'm not going to name names, but he had a history of running a online poker platform where he actually had software and he gave it to other people on the platform that would actually let other people see your cards as you were playing away.
I remember you. Yeah, you were talking about that.
Is that ethical?
Not at all.
Is it legal?
Not at all.
Now, when it comes to gambling, that's a very gray line, right? It's like CZ. Are you actually breaking the law, or is this just more like ethics and what is moral? You know what I mean? Capitalists, sadly, especially young men full of testosterone, their morals can be corrupted really, really quickly and easily. It's sad. It really is, isn't it?
Thank you.
So, believe it or not, I actually think Gensler has a bit of a case here. If it's just a question of, okay, things like the ICO market, that was blatantly illegal. And
Yep.
not only was that, and crypto not only said fuck you to the fact that they knew that ICOs were illegal, the next cycle, they just changed the name. Oh, we're not going to call them ICOs anymore. Now we're going to call them IDOs.
Yeah.
Remember what that stood
Next
for?
next letter in the alphabet.
Well, but it was, initial DEX offering, right? And it was about decentralization and stuff like that. And frankly speaking, I don't think any regulators are actually going to be able to control DeFi. It's just too beyond them. It's just way too difficult. But you notice, what are they going to go after? They're going to go after the on ramps. So they're going to go after anybody that happens to be in an environment where regulation is actually something that's real. And that, of course, is sort of like our Western civilization. So, but I don't know whether you're familiar with Chinese capitalism, but in China, if you are the victim of a scam, you are the idiot. You are the fool. You, and actually people who are scammed, you notice that nobody's bitching about all the money that they've lost in this Chinese real estate bubble, eh?
Yeah.
Why? Because if you actually are seen as to be the person who was scammed, then you are the idiot. You are the social outcast. You are the fool. So in a weird sort of way, this kind of gray area with regard to capitalism, it works great in China. It works awesome.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of these guys, I mean, Justin Sun, he has slightly finessed things over the years to his advantage.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's it's an interesting conversation with the direction that crypto is going to go. Is it in the public's best interest? I think so, but at the same time too, like I said, I think Mr. Gensler lost a lot of credibility with him turning around and going after Coinbase like he did yesterday. Uh, it smacks of politics, is what it smacks of. So anyway, okay. So the point of the matter here is take a screenshot of the ADA. Since it is making lower highs and lower lows, we do have a measured move here that we can use to give us an idea of price targets. Not a big surprise. In fact, you can make the argument. You had said this earlier, that the bar that made the low pressed the preceding bar. This is basically your institutional fingerprint on ADA from the winter, right down there at the bottom, right there. This happens to be, I think this is Binance. I could be mistaken on this. This also happens to be versus USDT. That's a football unto itself as well. So, but I'll just leave it at that. I wouldn't be surprised through this seasonal week window, you actually see prices come off, and I would use this ABCD target as my target here. So we'll take a screenshot of this, and let's circle back around a month or so from now.
Yeah, that'll be interesting. We'll bring it back up.
Yeah, and let's see what happened. Where should we put this? We want to. You know what? I'll just send you the image. Maybe you can just sort of put it on like a file or something.
Yeah.
But I'll just PM it to you on Discord here, and
we'll have it there.
I'll just maybe add it to some sort of library or something. Anyway,
got it. The image. I got your message. Perfect.
Yeah, sweet.
Oh,
and then, as I said before, if we absolutely puke out through these lows, then we've got bigger problems. And we're probably going to have to head down into original reload zones, original institutional fingerprints. And ironically enough, we're probably just going to walk our way down this trend line here.
I'm looking forward to seeing how this plays out. We do have one from the chat from
Okay.
Skeptic for Hex.
Ah, Richard Hart. Yeah.
We'll
You know,
see.
I hate to say it, but this is a good example of be careful.
Oh, that's
Now the question is, where
checks.
the hell do we want to? Do we want to look at it on Yobit?
What's it
I'm
on?
surprised Yobit's still around. That's incredible. So the question is, where do you want to look at this thing?
Um,
Poloniacs, actually. It's interesting how
yeah, let's
polos.
do Poloniacs.
All right, let's see what happens. Do 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 do. Anyway, you enjoy the conversation today?
I am. This has been insightful. I actually
Time goes
been.
by pretty quick, eh?
I know it's already like 15 minutes left usually, around 2 hours.
All right, so we talked about how, and this is a perfect example of the seasonal rip, eh? So buy when it snows, absolutely textbook. And I've seen this coin do this before in the past. And March, April, was there some sort of event that happened in the Hex universe through this window?
I'm not well versed enough.
Yes.
I mean, I assumed yes, but I don't know.
So there was a big like unlocking event.
Okay.
And I can't remember exactly how the story goes, but like literally, I think the event was like over here. So this was kind of like a buy the rumor,
Sell the
sell the
news.
news. That totally typical. Uh, I'm not going to comment on Richard. He's a character unto himself. Uh, You know, if you listen to Richard, his ideas and his coins and his names are much better quality fundamentals than anything else you see in the market. So, if anything, maybe this is almost like telegraphing a little bit about what to expect in the future, and it's not good. Uh, Skeptic says delay in launch of
Loose.
loose chain, maybe could be. Um, What I would just simply say was, I remember as we were getting bid up, we've looked at this before, right? And I remember as we were getting
I don't know
bid up,
about Hex.
huh?
I don't know if we've done Hex.
Maybe I looked at it on the site. I know we actually, you know what? It might have been when I was doing the show with Paul and Ben.
Gotcha.
Um, so just, I mean, I might make the argument that, oh, gee whiz, Mountain Man 61.8s. Actually, interesting that it couldn't even get back to that reload zone. That's a bit of a tell, I suppose. Any gaps or anything up in through here? See what we got. Oh yeah. So can you see this hole on the chart right here?
Yeah,
And you see all these wicks?
I
Do
do.
you see all these inverted tails?
I
So
like
there's
that.
a
I'm
whole
gonna
bunch of
start
people.
coining that.
Yeah. And actually interesting. There's also a gap right up here too, eh? So anybody that bought this name up in this area up here, especially with all these wicks, right? Because these are all trap bulls in here. You know, oh yeah, this thing's going straight up, and then oh no, what are you doing? You're going the wrong way. Oh no. Right. So all these guys here, they're all trapped and they'd love to get out. So let's go see where price stopped. I got a funny feeling it stopped right at that gap. Oh, look at
Boom.
that.
Yeah.
There's, and actually it's funny because we have there's memes and stuff that we put out on the site. What's the statistical probability that that gap should be filled in? Do you have any idea? It's a
Um.
shockingly high number.
Honestly, I
Some guy
don't
on
know the
the,
probability, but yeah, I would say pretty high. Just
it's like
it's right there.
91% of the time these gaps are filled in. 91%.
That is.
Big number. So I guess it shouldn't surprise us to see that that happened. Um, and if anything, this is also a good conversation about sustainability. Remember we looked at ADA and it went from like 2 cents
Just
or a
the
penny or
30
whatever up to
to
three
$3.
dollars.
Yeah.
All right, so this thing went from what is that? 1 penny, 1.5 cents,
Yeah.
all the way up to 12,
12.
13 cents. That's like a basically a 13-fold increase.
Yeah.
Is that sustainable over time?
No.
Probably not. Theoretically, this should move up 1 unit of price for 1 unit of time at a 45-degree angle. I don't think that that's, especially when you get into this kind of action, that's not 1 unit of price for 1 unit of time. That's like 10 units of price for 1 unit of time. And it did that quite a bit, eh?
Mm-hmm.
So probably, really good in an anecdote about venture capital too. They usually say if it goes straight up, it's probably going to come straight back down. So not really a big surprise there either. I suppose going forward, everybody should look at this chart and go, oh, gee whiz, look at the size of that gap. So there is a big hole on this chart right here that probably needs filling in. Interesting. Look how a lot of people got really bullish, buy, 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 and then they got their hearts broken and it just melted down here. So there's a whole bunch of trap bulls in this inverted tail. Whole bunch of trap bulls in here.
Yeah.
Whole bunch of trap bulls in
All
here.
these
Right? You can just
inverted
see.
tails.
All right. Also, there's a big gap here. So interesting how you see how the market rallied up into that gap, and then all
And
the
it
people,
filled.
the market, the gap gets filled, and then all of a sudden the market just falls apart. And then notice, look at this rally, market rallies up. All these guys are like, oh, thank God, get me the fuck out of there, right? And then the market just falls apart.
Yeah.
And then they just did it again, right? Market rallies up. It's a new bull market, filled in the gap, and really technically speaking, textbook wise, this gap actually is not filled in. This gap is actually not filled in yet. It needs to be quote unquote filled with a candle body. So these gaps are actually not, they're still open. And I would argue that you'll have a rally back up here. These trap bulls here, they will all exit and it'll probably make another wick up here. If the market can actually go up there, close up there, it's done, and you have a nice big candle body that fills this gap in, then all of this is old news. It's old history. So for the time being, big gap here, big gap here. These are going to be major brick walls going forward. No doubt about it. And look at, there's another one here. Holy crap, they're everywhere. So here's another one. You're probably going to get some sort of spike, kind of like this, kind of like this. If you're really fast, if you see a little W that happens to come down in here, you might be able to pop off a double, right? Because that's 1 cent and that level is 3 cents. So I don't think, let me just ask you really simply put, is there any sign of a W here yet?
No. Uh, Actually, yes. Now that you, yes.
Um,
Or no, sorry, it's going the other way. I'm thinking M.
to make it easy, we can
Yes.
always just change it to a line chart.
Yes.
And you can
That's
see
an M.
it tried to W.
Yeah.
And okay, here's the rally. Here's the rally. Can we get it to go up through? Whoops. Yeah, up through. Oh, man, are you going to work? Up through. No.
Yes, no, it doesn't want to work. I see what you mean, though.
Anyway, can we get this thing to move up through? Maybe we can. Oh, there it is. All right, now you decide to play. All right, so can we get this to move up through that W, right? Up through the middle part, right? Up through there, and break out and hold these lows. If you could get that, then great. The W is in. But what did it do? If I'm not mistaken, that's an M. Ugh, yuck. So, look at the last time this thing M'd out. M. Boosh.
Boom.
So they always say, how you define a bull market? How do you define a bull market?
Lower lows or higher. Bull market is higher highs.
That's right. Higher highs and higher lows.
Yes.
How do you define a bear market?
Lower lows.
Lower highs and lower lows.
Yeah.
Lower high, lower high, lower high, lower low,
Lower low.
almost up, lower low. So clearly we're still in a bear market. Also too, the moving averages. I like to use the moving average, especially on a weekly basis. They help you sort of see the higher time frame trend. Notice that we had a W over here on the weeklies, right? That
And
was into
then it
that
took
W.
off.
And wow, what a rally, eh?
Yeah.
And you can see the moving averages turned up. Hey, we're a bull, rock and roll. Then we started to fail. Moving averages were still bullish, but no W's. M, and now we're actually getting the moving averages to roll over. Oh, crap.
So my comment
So,
says, guys up there sleeping on the couch.
yeah. Well, they're probably TRI people. They're familiar with that.
Yep.
Look at these guys right here. They can you imagine if you had taken like your family's savings and you went and FOMO bought up here and you have to look at this chart every damn day? You know how gut wrenching that would be? It
Yeah.
would just be so depressing. Like you wonder why so many people get angry at capitalism, right? And why there's so many lawsuits. It's the same damn thing as that Doge. And this is what I don't understand. And I do understand it because this is an unregulated market space. And, Mr. Musk knows full well, you got a problem with me? Go fuck yourself. There's nothing you can do about it,
Yeah.
sucker. But I'm actually surprised that there aren't some ambulance chasers that are actually going to sue Mr. Musk over the price action of this Doge. I'm actually shocked that there hasn't been more talk about litigation. This is the Hex, of course, trap bulls up there sleeping on the couch. I'd want to show you the Doge chart, right? And it's basically the same conversation.
Doge chart doesn't want you to show it.
Mr. Musk is like, I'll fix his head. Yeah. Anyway, okay, so if you're asking, what is my opinion? Actually, I don't know how to get out of this. Let's maybe just refresh this. I can't touch that Hex. And the issue here is that I do know that Mr. Hart's kind of out on an island. And he's definitely an individual in the space, and if technically the chart's working, the asset can really perform because he's out on an island. Nobody's really going to bug him. But at the same time, too, if the interesting, we're looking at this on poll. Let's go back and look at Hex and get out of the Musk nightmare. Because he's sort of out on an island, he's gonna have to have his community's gonna have to get jazzed. Like Skeptic says, there was a problem with the launch of what is that?
Pulse. It said corrected it. Pulse chain.
Oh, Pulse. Yeah. So if there's any problems with the story, then price can come off in a hurry. And so I guess the issue here is if anything, this is a really good example where this is fundamental analysis meets technical analysis. So unfortunately, all those people that was just a really bad buy. They should have never done that. You might have said, well, Brian, I'm going to draw reload zones. And I'm going to start seriously looking at this thing when we get down into reload zones. This one candle here should have given you a bit of pause. This is actually a really good reason why I say you really want to have 3 unrelated reasons. Do you remember how that cadence goes?
The 3 reasons to make a trade?
Yeah.
There's
a cadence to the 1, 2, and 3.
Location.
All right, so we could make the argument that, obviously you're not allowed to chase. This was stupid buying up here, but we did get back into reload zones. It's a huge dump.
Mm-hmm.
So we now have location. What do we want next?
Indicator confirmation.
All right, so let's go and look at what the indicators were saying through here. And we can look at it on a weekly basis. Ooh, what letter of the alphabet is that?
Nice M.
How about this? What letters do you
Another
see
M.
here? How about our Williams percentage
See
R?
an
Is
M,
that
a couple M's there.
so? Do you see how we're at trade location? Okay, cool. But you look down at the indicators. Do we have indicator confirmation?
No.
And in fact, I might make the argument that, they always say volume leads everything. Volume speaks volumes. So this is actually a really good study that we teach in our education program, actually interpreting the volume bars themselves. And I can absolutely tell you without a shadow of a doubt, seeing a really big red candle like this, and actually this is just the bar of the candle, but this is clearly the bears are dominating, right? They've taken over the conversation and they are selling aggressively. Does that make sense?
It does.
And of course, what letter of the alphabet do you see in our indicators?
M.
Right? So we knew that there was trouble coming here.
Yeah.
So as the cadence goes, we're at trade location. Okay. Can we move any further forward?
So then you need the indicators and then market.
So we're at indicators. Can we move forward? Are we getting any reasons to be bullish here?
Nope.
So that's the end of the conversation.
Yeah.
Sucks. And a lot of people that I talk to and ask me about ideas, I go through this very process. And I say, okay, if we get to number 3 and everything's a go, I'll go and buy it myself. Because that's a good trade is a good trade is a good trade. But as it is right now, we got to number 1. We tried to move to number 2. And yeah, I had to go to the bathroom and do a number 2.
Yeah.
That's about where it ended.
Exactly.
And it looks like, unfortunately, the name also added number 2. And now, if we add in the fundamental story, now actually we have a rational idea. Does this make sense? Do you remember what rational analysis is?
It means Brian Beamish.
No. Actually, the guy who first coined this, his name was John Bollinger. I don't really ever heard of John
Bollinger Bands?
Yeah, same guy.
Okay.
So it's not something. The irony of it all is that Wall Street never liked the term, and they never ever warmed up to it. So I love the term. It makes perfect sense to me. So, but now Wall Street, they didn't even want to give Bollinger credit, which really pisses you off. This is such a good analogy of how sometimes Wall Street can just be absolute bastards. So they didn't want to give John the credit for it. So now they call it quote unquote fusion analysis, where they're fusing a fundamental analysis and technical analysis together. And why create a whole new term? Johnny Bollinger coined this years ago. Give him credit.
Give credit where credit's due.
Yeah, but that's Wall Street. Wall Street, they can be dickheads like that. So anyway, the point of the matter here is, Pulse Chain, I'm hearing some negative fundamentals about the story. You couple it with the technicals, that's a rational idea. And it shouldn't surprise us that actually the trade location failed. And remember we were looking at ADA earlier. Remember I had said, let's watch how ADA acts against its lows.
And this one dropped below that low.
Right, and you can even see, I don't know whether you're advanced enough to know what this is. But in a weird sort of way, this is actually market structure. This is actually what's called an inside bar. So
I'm not advanced enough.
Yeah, maybe you'll learn this over time. No big deal. But the point here is that if the internals, the indicators, actually were starting to look positive and actually painted divergence, believe it or not, if we actually had turned back up and gone through this high here, and considering that is the Mountain Man level, 61.8, trade location, that actually would have been a buy signal right there. But like we said, we went through our process and the internals just look like crap. So if you're asking me if this was a technical buy in here, we never got through step 2. So you can't even get to step 3. And of course, you can see what I would often say here, and actually Bitcoin just did this, is that these were the bull bear battle lines that were drawn in the marketplace. And very simple, don't overthink this stuff. If we went through this high, then that would have been an inside bar reversal and the bulls take over. No, I can't draw this.
I know the
Um,
drawing is always finicky on
don't
these
worry about
on their charts.
Well, especially with this weekly chart, because I'm so zoomed in. So the bars
Oh,
themselves, I probably should be looking at this on a daily chart. But if we go through this low, right, bull bear battle lines, if we go through this low, then that's actually a continuation signal. And what you should be able to do as a smart technician now is you should be able to say, well, Brian, if we go through this low, then isn't this an A to B? How does the rest of this go?
equals C to D.
Right. So we draw the C to D off of that rally peak. And really what this is saying, just like we did with the ATA, this is actually saying it wants to go down into here.
Okay, that makes sense.
That works.
Yeah.
So now, and we won't get into extensions, but you remember for Coinigy, I actually did extension tutorials for you guys.
We did.
And I might argue that my hunch is this A to B, C to D is actually probably going to line up an extension level. So out of curiosity, do you remember what some of the extension levels are? Well, now I'm going to really test you.
For which one?
Well, the extension tutorial that I did it's
Oh,
on the Coinigy website. Uh-oh. All right, I'm not going to be a dick.
yeah,
All
that's
right.
tough.
So one of the, and we'll just put them in here. One of the big ones is 1.13. Next one up on the block is 1.272. Next one on the block is 1.618. There's also another one that we use. It's the midpoint between these two. It's not an actual extension level, but quite often, very much like the midpoint between the 61.8 and 78.6 is 70.2.
Mhm.
That often is a pivot level. So we couldn't throw that on there, and that is 1.41, I think it is. I can't remember off the top of my head. Might be 4.4. And then what I like to do is I like to put 200% as a range extension because quite often the market moves in like stair steps. So this is the parking garage concept. But anyway, we won't get into that today. Point here is that if I was thinking extensions, these are some of the levels now that I would be looking. And notice there's A to B, C to D. It looks like it's going to take us right into sort of like between this 113 and 127.2. My hunch is this market probably wants to go after this 127.2. That's a pretty popular extension.
Okay.
So
Just
it
make
would be
note of all of
interesting.
those. I just wrote down all of those levels for the Fibonacci extension levels.
Yeah, well, just go watch the
Yeah.
tutorial that I did for you guys. And let's see if you remember this. What do I call 1.618 down into 200%? Adam would know this.
Yeah. Popcorn. Add-on.
You're close. I heard a P somewhere in there.
Uh,
Anyway,
Parking
follow
garage.
parking garage.
Oh, I even just wrote that down. Was parking garage in
Uh-huh.
parentheses. I literally just wrote because you mentioned it before.
That's right. So, and all this is suggesting, and quite often you'll see this at 1.618 is called the golden ratio. So Adam is correct there. But 200%, all this really is this is just simply saying you can quite often do this in capitalism. Is notice that this is basically a trading range. bottom end of the range, top end of the range. Now, as you can see, things are going to get a little screwy here because we're going into negatives. So what you're probably going to have to do to actually do this correctly is we're going to have to change the scale to log so you can see these numbers correctly. There we go. So that's going to obviously change the image quite a bit. I would also change this extension study. Remember how we did that? Change the fibs to, oh, actually that is log scale, so that works. This right here, because I manually did that, that won't work. So we'll get rid of that. We'll put on our parking garage 1.618 to 2.0, something like that. And we'll put that reference right in there, maybe. Whoa, there we go. All right, so now let's readjust this. So as I had said there earlier, this is a trading range. Bottom end of the range, top end of the range. Quite often the markets actually will do nothing more than they will just simply replicate this range below. Now obviously when you do this, your charts are going to get a little screwy. And if anything, it's handy having the fibs that I can adjust to the log scale. But in essence, let's see if I can do this without messing things up totally. How did I do that? Come on, you. Yeah, so what we're doing here is we're just going to literally replicate this range down below. See how those are basically the same size? So, and it's remarkable the way you can do this in the stock market and really crypto as well, because it's just purely price action. Remember, the universe is a fractal, so everything is universal here. Anyway, so the point that I would just make is the reason why I use this concept called the parking garage is quite literally markets will stair step their way. This is a range, and they're just going to replicate this range to the downside. So you can see, even here, gee whiz, even this is taking us down into negatives. But interesting how 1.618 is 0.003 whatever. That would probably be my price objective on this move here. This is a pretty damn ugly breakdown here. And especially on the fact that it's just on a mountain of selling. Like the bears are in complete control of this thing. So, and interestingly enough, even now, like relative strength index, this works really well to identify overbought and oversold zones. So this relative strength index, if it gets above 70 here, that's a sign that we're probably near the end of the move. And you can even see we're nowhere near the oversold zone here on RSI. So who knows how long this is going to take to actually bottom. A little bit fearful, and if anything, what you really need is you need the fundamentals. You need them to come out and say, all right, everything's fine, business as usual, and then you should see a W come in, and then you can start thinking bull again. But for the time being, I would not be thinking bull here whatsoever.
Gotcha.
So I'm sorry about that, Mr. Skeptic.
That's right, Mr. Skeptic.
Yeah, I suppose he's probably skeptical of my analysis. Okay,
awesome.
What's up next on the hit list?
Let's see.
What do you think? Am I doing you guys justice here? Do you you enjoying the conversation?
I think so.
Okay, good.
Let me see if we got any left.
I remember heard you you said 3 names earlier.
Yeah. Oh yeah, Link was one. If you want to power through one.
Actually, it's interesting that I told you about Chico.
Yeah.
Mr. Chico Crypto. This guy, because he really likes that energy webs. So I went and bought some of that. So whoops, actually I want the other screen over here. Back to here. So, would it shock you to know that I'm long Link? I don't. Hopefully not.
No.
Uh, this has been an interesting one, though. I'll tell you that much, bike crackers. Um, I'm curious as to how this SEC and the whole U.S. market regulation and stuff is going to handle the DeFi space and the Ethereum protocol and the way that this space has been worked and built out. If I understand correctly, Link is a name that sort of connects a lot of these sort of Ethereum tokens.
Hmm.
And it would be a very powerful infrastructure tool if they were allowed to sort of do their thing. Maybe we find that the U.S. regulators. I mean, keep in mind, Mr. Biden, he does not like crypto at all. I don't know how much of a war he's going to wage on crypto. It might be pretty damn ugly. I still think that uh, the American machine wants the public to buy crypto in a very specific format that works perfectly for like the BlackRock Capital people kind of guys.
That makes sense.
Unfortunately, people like Binance and CZ are not part of that equation. Is Link and the way that Ethereum kind of wants to decentralize authority, is that at odds with that view? I think it is. At the same time, too, though, just from and actually, this is probably an interesting view. We talk about institutional fingerprints. I don't know whether this is the best one to use. Maybe we should even maybe go over to Binance and see if there's a bit more data over there. But let's keep an eye on this reference over here, right? And that was May. Interesting, May. Brian's birthday. This thing's down. What a surprise.
Yeah.
But that first print there on Poloniex is May of 2020. Let's see if Binance has a bit more data to work with here. We can look at Tether, I suppose.
Yeah,
Oh, that's interesting.
one
Wow. Okay.
goofy
So
chart.
yeah, there's March, April, May, and here's actually low February 2019. Look how low that is. And unfortunately, we've got this big ugly tail here, so that kind of screws everything up when it comes to charting, right?
Yeah.
I wonder if what happens.
Try like to BUSD. I think that one's the
Yeah, I wonder if maybe that's an alternative. USDB. Is that how it goes, or
I
is
think
it
it's BUSD, the Binance.
like that?
Yeah.
Will that have? I don't know whether it'll have the data going back that far. Not really. Well, if anything, that's probably also pertinent. So you can see. Remember, we talked about institutional fingerprints. So that is
It is.
one nasty candle there. Right?
Yeah. That's
Holy.
that's
So
on my birthday, so
so it's all your fault.
yeah.
Anything, this kind of makes sense though. Notice how we bottomed right at the top of that institutional fingerprint. So this is probably a really good example, right? Probably if we do fibs from there down to there. And we'll do our good old reload zones. We'll get rid of the extensions. And there's 78.6, and well, let's just do 61.8, and then 88.6. Do I have one on here, or did I want that? 88.6, there we go. So also too, notice that that is Mountain Man, but notice Brian's big fat butt actually takes those all the way down into here, right? We can break this into 50%, so where's half of that? Somewhere down in that area there. So I did, full disclosure, I did go and buy some here. Not enough to sink the ship. Little old lady, Nanny Nibbles, all that kind of conversation. I would like to accumulate it. I do think that Tyler's done some good fundamental research, but if we go through a period where the U.S. political machine is basically at war with crypto, could this thing break down and move down into these levels down into here? And it'd be interesting to see if there are any price gaps all the way down here. Remember, I told you what was the statistical probability gaps get filled in?
91.
Yeah, it's a pretty damn high number, right?
91%. That
So
is alarmingly high.
yeah, this is BUSD. I mean, it might be interesting just to see what USD. Maybe we can see it versus that. Do we? Oh yeah, so we don't even have the data to see that.
You're on Binance Futures. Click down. Yeah, that's Binance.
USDC, so that's basically cripples. No, that's Polo's stablecoin. But okay, interesting here too. Oh, okay, so here is some more data, and we don't have that crazy ass tail to work with.
Yeah.
So there is your birthday, you bastard.
Yep.
I would say that that's probably your most recent institutional fingerprint, like that. Like have you ever heard me? Okay, so first and foremost, who are these guys right here? These people right here. Where are they sleeping?
In the bed. Because it's not on the couch because it goes up after that.
Well, but they may be bears.
Oh.
Are they trapped bears?
Yeah, that's an.
So anyway, the point here is if we ever do get price to come down into this area, anybody who did short or did sell here, this gives them the opportunity to cover their horrible mistake, right?
Okay, I see what you mean.
And it works the same way as this big wick right here, right? It's the same logic. It's just going the other direction. We often make the reference candle body lows for trade location. So I really like that as a trade location going forward. I think you could probably also make the argument, see how there were trap bears in here and here. You see them?
Mm-hmm.
Right? So same logic. Market came down into this candle body though for trade location. And these guys that sold here, right there on that little tail there, they were given the opportunity to get out of those horrible shorts, right?
Mm-hmm.
That makes sense. So same thing, and that's what this dump was. All of this was basically eating up all those tails. And notice, right? This tail was eaten up here, but there's still these guys right here. You see that?
Mm-hmm.
Right there. And what a surprise, dumped into these levels and turned back up. Now we have a whole bunch of new established trap bears here as well, right? See that? Right off of that same level. So I wouldn't be surprised if there's going to be some play against these lows. That wouldn't surprise me one bit. And kind of like, I think it was ADA we were looking at earlier.
Correct.
If we lose this low here, where's the next place we're likely to go? 10, 10, 10. Think about your birthday.
Going down.
Right. And I have this as candle body low for trade location.
Yeah.
Oh, I might think about that. But, these guys are all trap bears. They would love to get out of those really bad trades. So you can see, and can you also see now how this is basically a trading range, right? Bottom end of the range, top end of the range. This is just like Hex, right? We just saw there a moment ago, right? So Hex has lost these lows. Uh-oh. I don't know whether this name has lost those lows. I suppose the good thing is you got this really powerful railroad track reversal right there. So this low here should be incredibly powerful. And notice, can you see how this candle here sold off? It dumped into this railroad track bottom and then quickly jackknifed out of there. Oh, look, there's a whole bunch of newly established trapped bears here. That makes sense?
It does. I'm writing notes there.
All right. So, I get, there's a couple things you have to ask yourself about this. Number one, Has it actually bottomed yet? And unfortunately, I don't think this thing has. Why? Well, where's the W? If we change this to a line chart, notice that it tried to W here, but this is a lower low, right?
Yeah.
See that? And if we maybe zoom in here, you'll see it a little bit better. So lower low, there's no W there. Rallied right off of the bottom, huge spike up, came right back down, tested that low, but it held. I'm sure a lot of people were like, oh, thank God.
Yeah.
Then it jumped back up, but have we actually put in a W here yet?
I don't think so.
So I'd make the argument that uh, yes, it's cheap, especially if we like just do a regular scale. It's cheap, our regular scale fibs. We go, it's at or below reload zones. It's cheap, but I think, I suppose the next question we have to ask ourselves is, do we have indicator confirmation that this is actually turned up? Now, the interesting thing about this is you can, unlike that other name that we just looked at, you can see how, isn't that interesting? Is that a drawing? Isn't that bizarre? I wonder why that moving average looks like that. That's a bit odd. Anyway, I don't know whether this is the best place to look at this. Maybe let's go into USDT. Okay, there you go.
Yeah.
Well,
I was wondering why it was flatline there.
all right. So remember our conversation a moment ago. That was USDC, and of course, maybe USDC is a little bit sketchy right now. Remember we talked about bottom end of the range? Oh, I don't like that. Oh boy, I don't like that. Top end of the range. Looks like we didn't even get back up here, did we?
No.
So here we are again, testing the bottom end of the range. Moving averages are rolling over negatively. Maybe we're in trade location here, like we said. Bottom end of the range for just sort of your classic fibs, reload zones. Yeah, 88.6. Well, maybe that's an okay trade location. We look at the indicators themselves. You can see and even interestingly enough, last summer, we did try to look at that beautiful bullish divergence.
Mm-hmm.
Willie stupidly oversold. That's always a good sign. We actually have a W in volume. So if this thing wanted to rally, it had the green light here. But I just don't see any W's. Do you see? I don't see a single W.
I don't see any.
And then what's really sucks horsecocks is, doesn't that look like an M that just came in there?
It does.
This high was slightly higher than that, so it's not a disaster. But oh boy, that doesn't look good. And then, add insult to injury, all of our bullish indicators that we were all excited about. Now the indicators, they're all starting to roll over here now, eh?
Yeah.
My favorite momentum indicator is the MACD histogram, and I don't know what letter of the alphabet does
That's
that.
a nice M.
Ugh, horrible, eh?
Yeah.
And of course, our talk about Bitcoin and seasonality and looking for a bottom into the end of June, beginning of July. Oh boy, this thing looks like it's about to get punched in the nose. It sucks. What would I say? I mean, you could make the argument we could do extension studies off of this, right? Bottom end of the range, top end of the range. We did talk earlier about how wicks and tails, bunch of trap bears down in here, bunch of trap bulls up top here. Now there's some trap bulls up top here. So all of the bears that were trapped in that candle there, these tails here, that tail there, they're getting released now. So now it's like uber incumbent on the bull. Okay, somebody's got to step up and start doing some buying. I mean, what we really need is we need an event like this. What did I call this pattern? I already showed you one of these earlier tonight. What do we call
Railroad track reverse.
Sort of. This tail is much, much lower than this bar. So we can't really call it railroad tracks.
Okay.
But is this green bar, think of it relative to this red bar. What did we say earlier tonight? What would we call this green bar relative to this red bar?
Is that the institutional fingerprint?
No.
No, then I don't know.
Notice how this green bar is completely inside this red bar. You see that?
Yes.
Completely inside. So we call that an inside bar reverse. So and it fires, right? The bullish sign is when it goes through this high here, right there. So we have a huge down red candle here. Certainly no reason to be bullish here whatsoever, right? And the first thing that I need to see is I need to see some sort of stop selling, maybe even just consolidate a little bit. Does it make sense that this is a consolidation?
Yes.
You know, interesting enough, if we break this apart and we zoom in on like a 4-hour chart or something, this inside bar actually probably looks like a W. So if we go, because even mine, that was a weekly chart we're looking at. Oh yeah, look at that. Can you see the W?
I
Down,
can.
up, down, breakout. See how that works?
Okay. Yeah.
So
Like you said before, buy when it snows.
yeah, well, that's a really good example of the seasonal trade, right? So excellent observation there. You're spot on. So I guess the question ultimately here is, do you see any W's here?
Not seeing any.
Now here's a fun little trick, and actually we did the video for your for Coinigy. So anybody who wants to see this video, I don't even really have it formally in the TRI education program yet, so you guys are actually pretty lucky. If we do this, up, down, up, and then fail through this low, what do you think I'm going to be thinking
It's dropping.
here?
After,
Yeah.
after it goes past that low, it's gone.
How about chaos theory?
Oh, yes.
So chaos theory uses 2.618 and uses 4.669. My hunch is we won't go any further than that. But anyway, let's just see where these levels come. All right, so actually this does kind of make sense. So we slam down, we rally back, and notice, look what we're doing right now.
Yep.
We are like literally playing right at that 2.6. So actually, technically speaking, this is totally appropriate. You could also do this same study off of any M. So we could do it off of here, back to here. And now, interesting enough, look how 2.618 actually lines up with this previous level that we had identified as the bottom end of the range.
Yeah, that's like identical to it.
So there's the bottom end of the range. So quite literally, and it would make sense, right? Because there are going to be people that are going to be shorting, and every time you see a new M, that's a new market structure signal to go short. So the trade right now is down. But once we get into these old lows and we start actually flirting with this low, does it not make sense that maybe somebody will come in and say, well, you know, this is where the market bottomed before. Maybe I'll take a chance that it's going to bottom here again. So the price right now is one directional. Sell. But once we hit this level, and actually, interestingly enough, you can also see that that's just below this previous W. So there's probably a whole bunch of people that bought here, and they have their stop loss orders right here as well. So does it not make sense that as soon as we hit this level, price could actually get quite chaotic? Where you're going to have people that actually are going to willing to buy against these lows. And the people that shorted up here they might actually think about taking profits on those shorts, which means that they're going to be buying, or in essence, price is going to start getting chaotic. There's going to be sellers and there's going to be buyers. And you're probably going to see something like woohoo chaos, right? That's hence the term chaos theory. Anyway, kind of interesting talk there, eh?
It is.
So put it all together. If anything, I got to be proud of myself because I'm so fucking cool. But that's
Hell
another
yeah.
thing. Yeah. But I've been warning everybody about the fact that May, June is usually a pretty tough time for speculating in the market anyway. So everything's playing out exactly as it's supposed to. I mean, how ironic, eh? How many people are watching this video? 13 people!
Hey.
Woohoo! Yet we're probably the only people in the entire fucking cryptoverse that are actually talking logically.
Yep.
I could still,
Congratulations. You guys are part of the movement.
it doesn't make any sense to me. Like I don't see anybody else on the internet having this kind of conversation.
No.
And yet when you actually go to the sites that have like 10,000 views, this girl the other day that just got lost her fucking lunch over this whole CZ thing. She had like at the time she had like 11,000 people watching her stream. And I'm like, what am I doing wrong here? Because clearly we had this market tapped. I mean, this is exactly what's supposed to happen, and it's happening. And yet I can't seem to get the message out to the world. I don't quite understand what I'm doing wrong.
Yeah. We'll
Anyway,
get
I
there.
suppose it's the way it's supposed to be. Anyway. So there's a really cool application of chaos theory.
Yeah.
Like really cool application. Take a screenshot of that. That's the kind of shit that somebody should write a course on this. Because it actually explains perfectly why price is probably going to get a little crazy down in here. Yeah.
Indeed. That is.
All right, so that's sort of the shorter term view of Link. Longer term, I like this story, but in a weird sort of way, that logarithmic chart, I think actually speaks more about this space. And it's too bad they got this crazy ass fucking candle here. Because, this was that March. Do you remember what happened in March of 2020? Do you remember that?
The pandemic.
Yeah.
Actually, hold
Really?
on. That chart, go to that candlestick. Because the 13th, I think is what it was. That big, long, thumb with the tail.
Thank you for not getting that wrong.
Yes.
12th of March.
Okay, so that's 12. I was going to say everything shut down in the U.S. on, I believe it was the 13th. So it was, right there. So that makes sense.
If you look at things like Bitcoin, I used to work with a gentleman, and I was so proud of him because he basically did everything that I'm trying to teach all of you guys to do. And keep in mind, being
You
a
get
good
two
trader.
slashes there.
Oh, sorry. Being a good trader is not easy. This is not an easy job. And that's where I think this is sort of the reason why we only have 13 viewers, is because I tell people the truth. This is not an easy profession. My old boss at the prop firm used to always say, this is the business where you are paid to worry. And if you're not worrying, if you're like logging on to somebody who's got a bazillion, gazillion followers and who, is just saying, oh, yeah, this is totally a hot project. And, oh, yeah, we're going to make tons of money and stuff like that. What do you think the odds are that you're actually going to make money? The irony of it all is it's extremely low.
Mm-hmm.
The Three Arrows Capitals. You remember those guys?
Yeah.
They said, when an asset price doubles, don't sell half, buy more. And I mean, how did that work out for them? I mean, it's just dumb, right? So anyway, I used to work with this one gentleman, and he got the message, and I was so proud of him. It's such a shame that our relationship had to fall apart, but I mean, it's just the way the world works. He's probably going to go off and become ridiculously rich now. But he forced himself to actually come in and buy this reload zone tag there.
Huh. Yeah, it's like
Now, do you think that that was an easy trade as the fucking sky was falling? Do you think that was an easy trade?
what was that at 46? I mean, sounds like a good price to buy in at. But
Well,
no.
hindsight's 2020.
Yeah.
Right? This is March 12th, March 13th.
Yeah. No.
Oh.
It's
Do
not
you
easy.
see how that other chart that we were looking at, it
And
was
that
also
big
the
one.
same day, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the point that I'm trying to make here is that that was a buying day. And smart money who bought that, I mean, just look what happened after that. This is why the smart money makes money at this game. And the public, Three Arrows Capital, Luna, Lunatics, all those idiots, right? They lose money at this game. There's Kevin right there. And that was his trade. What a boss, right? You
Yep.
want to see something really freaky too. And Joe, this is what I want you to get to. I need for you, the whole half of the reason why you're here with me right now is you have to learn this. And every one of you, all now, look at that. We lost 3 people watching this stream as I've been blabbing away here. What is it I said over the past 5, 10 minutes to make them disappear? I'm giving you the fucking secrets of the universe here.
Yeah.
It's baffling. I don't
Their
get it.
loss.
Anyway, check this out. You want to see something super cool? Kevin
Jeez.
basically said that, well, I think probably the odds are that this Bitcoin goes up to 50 grand, somewhere in that area, and that's where I'm going to be selling this coin that I bought at 4,000. Was that a pretty good trade? I'd say so.
That's good.
10x on your money. Watch this. This will freak you out. Let's put on our Foggin bombs. There was Kevin's price objective.
Yeah.
Now, if you don't get sucked into the bullshit, right? If you had just made your plan and said, I am going to sell and take profits at $51,000 a Bitcoin, how would you be feeling today?
Pretty damn good.
Is that a smart idea?
Indeed.
And the irony of it all, we talk about indicator confirmation. Notice the indicators here were in massive divergence. Can you see how we had strong highs up here? But then this move to new highs up top here, Alan's on fucking Saturday Night Live, all that nonsense. None of the indicators went to new highs. Willie stupidly overbought. So there was actually lots of warning that things were not going to last up here. And really, if anything, Joe, if I hear that you are buying reload zones, and this is an interesting one. This also is a really good lesson for everybody about trading. Was this dump here on Bitcoin, did it have anything to do at all about Bitcoin?
No.
Nothing whatsoever.
And do about lockdowns and pandemics.
Well, what was even worse was at this point, the bankster cartel in the United States of America, its public representative actually injected a whole bunch of outright fear into the marketplace, which I actually think was actually pretty irresponsible. Or it was intentional and it was all part of their plan. And that's the worst part about all.
Yeah.
So anyway, the point here is that this was a buying opportunity, a buying window. This was not a selling window, but to get the public to freak out and sell into the 1% buy orders, they have to obviously motivate the public to freak out and panic sell. Right? And that's exactly what this is. So anyway, finishing our conversation. I mean, do you see any of that kind of price action right now? No.
I wish.
I see a bunch of back and forth, but at the same time, too, folks, and this is probably a good note to end this video on. Everybody, please try and learn this. What are you supposed to think if you ever see the market smiling at
It wants your money.
you? And just like that move on Bitcoin back in 2020, you can make the same argument that I think actually we're in the part of the cycle that's sort of like right here right now. Actually, maybe even like right here. Do you see the market smiling at us here? This is back in 2019. Do you see the smile?
Oh yeah, I see that there.
And then an even bigger one. I don't know whether you can see that or not.
Yeah, I can see it.
And like us messing around and seeing 1 or 2 days of up action, but then it's slowly giving back. That's all this kind of price action in here, you know? So, if anything, for us to know that the market has actually bottomed, we actually need to see something like this, which obviously nobody in crypto wants to hear. I think what's happening right now is actually interesting how this happened through March. I wouldn't actually be surprised if we actually, because the halvening event is coming up, and the halvening event for this particular cycle was right like here, somewhere in that area. So I actually like the idea that the market probably is going to dump about 6 months ahead of the halvening event. Some sort of panic capitulation bottom that brings us back down against lows. I just don't know whether we've actually put in a bottom here yet. I'm a little bit worried that we might have to do one of these kind of things. Like notice this low here, that W, that looks an awful lot like this, doesn't it? And then this rally here, doesn't that look an awful lot like that?
I can see it.
And then, so if that's the case, then that means that we're kind of like right about here. And, like I just showed you, market's smiling at us. You notice the market was smiling at us in here, right? So anyway, you can see.
Yeah.
Fail. I mean, are we doing maybe something like this right now with that, kind of uppy action, but we're still well within the context of a down move, and we got this coming in front of us? I don't know. Sure hope not. But I do think that into sometime here over the next, what is it? It's June now. So June, July, August, September, October. That's only 4 months.
So
Notice that this is this peak, and when the M came in to the ultimate bottom here, that was, I mean, I don't know how long that is, but that looks like that was about maybe 3 or 4 months.
yeah.
Window there. So I don't know. I mean, obviously history doesn't repeat itself, but it does rhyme. But over the next 3 or 4, oh man, now we can do that. Anyway, over the next 3 or 4 months, I'm looking for some sort of capitulation low. Then once that low is in, then I think you and I are going to have a lot of fun talking crypto.
Yes, sir. I'm looking forward to it.
But as it stands right now, everybody, please don't fight this. Don't fight the Fed. The Fed's still raising rates. We're getting really close to the end of that cycle, but we're not there yet. I would just be really patient. And if anything, folks, right, what you should be doing is drawing your reload zones. And everybody should be able to tell me exactly where Brian's big fat buying level is. Right? And that's 18,000 bucks. So here we are at 26, 27. Can you be patient and disciplined and just wait for some sort of panic dump into these lows? That's up to you. I mean, I'm not going to tell you what to do with your money, but I'm telling you what I'm doing with my money.
Yeah.
Okay, I talked officially for an extra hour here today.
Hey, but it was all worth it. We all learned something from you.
Was it? Was this actually? I mean, hell, we only got 8 people watching. You 8 people that are watching, did you enjoy this? Give me some feedback here, and let me know. I mean, just be completely honest, okay, guys? Just tell me honestly. Are these marathons a waste of time? Because I really need to know this. I need to hear the message. So anyway, what do you think, Joe? Do you think that this was a constructive use of our time?
I think so. Structured use of my time. I hope it's you feel like you're getting stuff. Uh, we'll get stuff out of it for you as well. But as
Well,
always,
me personally, I love the sound of my own voice. So I just got 3 hours of hearing my own voice. What the hell, eh? What the hell?
we're good. Yeah, everyone's saying no wasted time. Awesome as usual. So, um, with
Okay.
that, thank you on behalf of everyone there, yeah, out in the chat and watching it, and I'm sure the people that are tuning in
Take a
tomorrow.
screenshot of that shit, man. That's scary.
Screenshot taken. All
Yeah,
right.
that's remarkable. In fact, we actually even have a setup on our site. I think I've told you before. That's called the shark setup. And what you look for is you look for previous market structure. Can you see the W here?
Mm-hmm.
Lining up with that 78.6. Ooh, what a coincidence. So there's actually a trade setup here potentially for me.
Well,
Talk about location, eh? Location.
location.
Yeah. Anyway.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys for tuning in to another episode of Bitcoin and Altcoin Trading Talk. We appreciate you, Brian, and ta ta for now. Take
All
care,
right.
guys.